Chapter 499. Communication paper. Since you're here, why hide? Come out. Whoosh. Just as Ningyu finished his sentence, the space in front of him suddenly split open and a martial artist appeared. Spirit Fox number 1. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi shouted at the same time when they saw the martial artist who suddenly appeared. They could not help but lean towards Ningyu. After all, Spirit Fox number 1 was a peak advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. Moreover, Ningyu had a peak advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist by his side. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi felt safer. How did you discover me? Spirit Fox number 1 ignored Li Tongtian and Feng Zi and asked Ningyu in a low voice. As a top assassin in the assassination pavilion, Spirit Fox number 1 was very proud of his concealment skills. He was so proud that he almost worshipped it. Actually, it was no wonder. Before he was discovered by Ningyu, he had been hiding in the space for a long time. After hiding for so long, he was not discovered by the advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist by Ningyu's side. Instead, he was discovered by Ningyu. How could Spirit Fox number 1 tolerate this? I didn't discover him. It was discovered by the person beside me. Ningyu pointed at the Alchemist Hall Master and said, Actually, he discovered you when you first arrived. I just did not ask him to say it. Humph. Hearing Ningyu's words, Spirit Fox number 1 snorted coldly. You killed Spirit Fox number 2 and Spirit Fox number 3. I can kill you 10 times over. But don't worry, I won't kill you. I will only capture you and make you suffer inhumane pain. Are you done? Ningyu shrugged at Spirit Fox number 1's threat and said, If you are, let's fight. Swoosh. As soon as the word fight was said, Ningyu rose from the ground and slashed with the soul-severing sword. In a split second, several shocking sword waves appeared and attacked the Spirit Fox number 1 at the same time. Insignificant skill. Spirit Fox number 1's eyes turned cold as he faced the numerous sword waves that were heading towards him. He waved his sleeves and several beams of cold light shot out. Chi. In the next moment, the cold light collided with the numerous sword ripples. As expected, the sword ripples dissipated into the surroundings. It seems that with my strength, I can only fight against a middle Yin-Yang stage martial artist at most. If I fight against a late Yin-Yang stage martial artist, I will only be killed. After one move, Ningyu tactfully retreated several feet away. Ningyu knew his limits. He knew that he could only fight against a martial artist at the pinnacle of the middle stage Yin-Yang realm. Facing a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, only death awaited him. He wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Xiao. Seeing Ningyu retreat, the Spirit Fox stomped on the ground, wanting to chase after him. However, before the Spirit Fox one could move, a figure steadily landed in front of him. You better get out of my way, or I will kill you as well. Looking at the late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist in front of him, the Spirit Fox number 1's face darkened. He said in a low voice, I see that it was not easy for you to reach the late-stage Yin-Yang realm. I don't want to fight you. Die. Although he was controlled by Ningyu's heart demon pill, the Alchemy Lord still had his own consciousness. He was already feeling aggrieved. Now that he heard Spirit Fox number 1's mockery, he could not take it anymore. After receiving Ningyu's approval, the Alchemy Lord immediately rushed out and started fighting with the Spirit Fox number 1. Boom. The Alchemy Lord and Spirit Fox number 1 were both late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. Every move they made was extremely powerful to the point of being terrifying. It could be said that just the shockwaves from their fight were enough to kill an early-stage primal core martial artist. Fortunately, Ningyu and the others were very strong. They were not afraid of the shockwaves from the fight between the Alchemy Lord and Spirit Fox number 1. Ningyu, is that late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist a match for Spirit Fox number 1? Feng Zi was still rather nervous. If Spirit Fox number 1 won, the consequences would be dire. Therefore, Feng Zi was looking forward to the Alchemy Lord's victory. It's hard to say. Spirit Fox number 1 is from the Assassination Pavilion. If I'm not wrong, his strength is enough to rank in the top 3 of the Assassination Pavilion. Ning Yu's expression was also somewhat solemn. He said in a low voice, "Let's wait and see for now. The winner and loser is still unknown." Damn it. If I had known this, I would have entered Danwu College with Ning Yu and brought that thing out. Li Tongtian's expression was very ugly as he muttered. "I say, Li Tongtian, what are you mumbling about?" Feng Zi patted Li Tongtian's shoulder and asked, "Do you have any special voice transmission method that can communicate with the outside world?" Feng Zi did not want to place all his hopes on the Alchemy Lord. He turned his attention to Li Tongtian. Li Tongtian's identity had always been a mystery. Until now, Feng Zi still did not know Li Tongtian's background. Voice transmission method? Hearing Feng Zi's words, Li Tongtian's eyes lit up. He hurriedly took out a palm-sized golden paper. Voice transmission paper. Li Tongtian had just taken out the golden paper when Ning Yu exclaimed in surprise, "I didn't expect you to have a voice transmission paper." "What's a voice transmission paper?" Feng Zi asked doubtfully. "Voice transmission paper, a special type of paper. There are 2 copies. Ning Yu took a deep breath and explained, "As long as you write what you want to say on the paper, then drip your essence blood on it and burn your soul power to burn it, the words will appear on the other piece of voice transmission paper." F***CK, that's amazing. Feng Zi almost jumped up. This was the first time he had heard of the so-called voice transmission paper. In that case, he could carry a few copies of voice transmission paper with him in the future. Even if he met with danger, he could call for help? Don't be too naive. Ning Yu's voice rang out at the right time. The method to create a voice transmission paper is extremely complicated. Only a 7th grade pill master and above can create a voice transmission paper without sleep or rest for 49 days. That's right. The most important thing is that the method to create the voice transmission paper has been lost. Every time you use it, you have one less. Li Tongtian continued, "If I hadn't shamelessly asked Master for this voice transmission paper in my hand, he probably wouldn't have given it to me." The method to create the voice transmission paper has been lost? Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat as he exclaimed in surprise. 20 years ago, although the method to create the voice transmission paper was more precious, it could still be bought with a certain amount of crystals. The method to create the voice transmission paper was recorded in the Rebirth Pill Dao book. Moreover, it was a simplified version. One only needed a few hours to create a voice transmission paper. That's right. 10 years ago, the method to create the voice transmission paper was lost. Li Tongtian nodded. He wanted to say something, but his mouth opened slightly and he looked into the distance. Bam! In midair, the fists of the Spirit Fox number 1 and the leader of the Alchemy Division collided. Immediately, both of them retreated several feet before they could stabilize themselves. However, the expression of the leader of the Alchemy Division was much worse. Chapter 500. Unafraid of a fight, I've said it before. You're no match for me. After severely injuring the Alchemist Hall leader, Spirit Fox number 1 said coldly, "I thought it wasn't easy for you to cultivate to the yin-yang late stage, so I wanted to spare your life. However, you don't know what's good for you. I have no choice but to get rid of you." This doesn't make sense. How could the Alchemist Hall leader be defeated so quickly? Ning Yu's face was filled with shock as he stared at the Alchemist Hall master, who was breathing weakly. His face was filled with extreme shock. The Alchemist Hall leader was the strongest person in the corpse sect. Not only was his cultivation at the peak of the yin-yang late stage, but his soul power was also extremely powerful. Originally, Ning Yu thought that even if the Alchemist Hall leader couldn't kill Spirit Fox number 1, he would at least be able to injure him. However, reality was cruel. The martial artist who was injured in the end was not Spirit Fox number 1, but the Alchemist Hall leader. Ningyu, the Alchemist Hall leader, was controlled by Yu with 2 inner demon pills. He only has 60% of his peak strength now. Suddenly, Sun Jiangwen's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind, causing Ningyu to be slightly startled. Only 60% of his peak strength? From the looks of it, losing to Spirit Fox number 1 was understandable. By the way, Ningyu, I'm very interested in your identity now. Spirit Fox number 1, who was about to make a move, stopped and temporarily gave up on killing the Alchemist Hall leader. He turned to Ningyu and said, "To be able to make a peak yin-yang late-stage martial artist work for you, you must be the young master of some big family or sect." As one of the top 3 teams in the Assassination Pavilion, the Spirit Fox team had accepted many assassination missions over the years. Moreover, they were all assassinations of people with high statuses. There was no lack of young masters of big sects or big families. However, after accepting so many missions, Spirit Fox number 1 had never encountered a peak yin-yang late-stage martial artist. The one beside Ningyu was the first. Therefore, Spirit Fox number 1 was more interested in Ningyu's identity. "Come out." Ningyu couldn't be bothered with Spirit Fox number 1. With a low grunt, he tossed the storage ring on his wrist over his head. Walala! In the next moment, several figures flashed out from within the storage ring. F***ck, there are actually so many people? Li Tongtian couldn't help but curse when he saw so many cultivators rushing out of the storage ring. He had thought that there would only be one martial artist at the pinnacle of the yin-yang final stage and one martial artist at the intermediate stage of the yin-yang stage in his storage ring. Who would have thought that so many martial artists would appear now? Among these martial artists, other than the late and middle yin-yang stage martial artists, there were 3 early yin-yang stage martial artists and 1 peak primal core martial artist. Moreover, there was a red flying sword and a black dog in front of Ningyu. "Ningyu, do you think these small fries are my match?" Although Spirit Fox number 1 was extremely shocked, he did not show it. Instead, he said sinisterly, "I can even kill a peak late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist, let alone these low-level martial artists." Also, at this point, Spirit Fox number 1 paused for a moment before he turned to look at the Dark Emperor. He smiled and said, "It's one thing for you to find some people, but why did you find a dog?" F***cku. The Dark Emperor had a bad temper. The one thing he could not tolerate the most was people calling him a dog. Hearing Spirit Fox number 1's words, the Dark Emperor cursed out loud. However, the Dark Emperor knew his own limit. He knew that he was no match for Spirit Fox number 1. So he did not take the initiative to attack. It's one thing for a human to be arrogant, but a dog is just as arrogant. Spirit Fox number 1's face darkened instantly. Being insulted by a dog was something that he could not tolerate no matter what. Swoosh. In the next moment, Spirit Fox number 1 dashed out. His body was like a sharp sword as he charged straight at the Dark Emperor. "Oh no, Wang Haiba, hurry up and attack." Seeing Spirit Fox number 1 charging at the Dark Emperor, Ningyu's expression changed and he hurriedly said, "Stop Spirit Fox number 1. At all costs." In the end, Ningyu added another sentence. The Dark Emperor's cultivation was only at the peak of the primal core realm. Although he could fight against a martial artist at the early stage of the yin-yang realm, he would only be able to kill a martial artist at the peak of the advanced stage of the yin-yang realm. Swoosh. Wang Haiba and the rest did not dare to delay and immediately rushed out to block the Dark Emperor. "All of you, get out of my way." At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1 was like an enraged bull. He had no intention of slowing down as he clenched his fists and fought with Wang Haiba and the rest. Bang! After all, Spirit Fox number 1 was a martial artist at the peak of the advanced stage of the yin-yang realm. In just one round of battle, he had severely injured Ma Wei, who was at the early stage of the yin-yang realm, and his body was sent flying. Spirit Fox number 1 did not stop after his successful attack. He continued to attack. Ningyu, we can't go on like this. We have to think of a countermeasure. Seeing that Wang Haibo and the rest were gradually losing, Feng Zi said anxiously. I do have a countermeasure, but it depends on whether you are compatible or not. Ningyu said in a low voice. Compatible? How can I not be compatible? Feng Zi said hurriedly. Even if you ask me to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames, I will not refuse. I will not ask you to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. Ningyu shook his head and said solemnly, Do you still remember Spirit Fox number 5? Spirit Fox number 5? Of course I remember. Feng Zi was stunned at first, then said. Whether or not we can seriously injure or even kill Spirit Fox number 1 depends on you. Ningyu whispered in Feng Zi's ear. Don't worry, I promise to complete the mission. Hearing Ningyu's whisper, Feng Zi's expression became very solemn as he said in a low voice. Li Tongtian, are you interested in exchanging a few blows with Spirit Fox number 1? After instructing Feng Zi, Ningyu turned to Li Tongtian and asked. Why not? Li Tongtian was also full of heroic spirit as he shouted. Alright. Ningyu glanced at Li Tongtian, then with the red demon sword in his hand, his body turned into a shadow and immediately rushed out. As for Li Tongtian, he reached into his clothes and took out a silver-white flying sword. Sky class. The silver-white flying sword in Li Tongtian's hand had reached the level of sky class. Pa. However, before Ningyu and Li Tongtian could join the battle, they heard two muffled sounds. It was obvious that the remaining two yin-yang initial stage warriors had only been able to withstand one blow from the Spirit Fox number 1 before they were sent flying several feet away. In the short span of a minute, 3 yin-yang early stage martial artists had already been defeated. Now, on Ningyu's side, only Wang Haibo of the intermediate stage of yin-yang, Sun Jiangwen of the pinnacle of primal core, Li Tongtian of the pinnacle of primal core, Ningyu of the pinnacle of true martial realm, and the Dark Emperor of the pinnacle of primal core. The Lord of the Alchemy Hall had suffered serious injuries and would take some time to recover. Ningyu, hand over the storage ring in your hand and I can leave your corpse intact. Chapter 501. Trying to capture him alive. You want my storage ring? Let's see if you have what it takes. Hearing Spirit Fox number 1's threatening words, Ningyu snorted coldly and waved the red demon's sword in his hand. Solitaire. Following Ningyu's shout, a sword wave as thick as a waist appeared in the air and slashed at Spirit Fox number 1. Chi. The sword wave was so fast that it created a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. The power of the sword wave this time seems to be much stronger than before. Spirit Fox number 1 was slightly surprised when he felt the majestic primordial chi in the sword wave. Compared to the first sword wave, the power of the sword wave this time was much stronger. No wonder. It's the amplification effect of the flying sword in my hand. Suddenly, Spirit Fox number 1 raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have noticed something unusual about the flying sword in Ningyu's hand. The first time Ningyu used solitaire, he used a lower-grade heaven flying sword. This time, he used solitaire and the flying sword he used was at least a higher-grade heaven flying sword. In fact, the red flying sword in Ningyu's hand could be a king-grade flying sword. A king-grade flying sword was a rare treasure even in Spirit Fox number 1's hand. Swoosh. However, while Spirit Fox number 1 was in a daze, the huge sword wave that Ningyu had unleashed had already arrived in front of him and was aimed at his head. Child's play. Spirit Fox number 1 was indeed a martial artist at the peak of the yin-yang realm. He reacted quickly. He made a grabbing motion in the air with his right hand. In an instant, a cold light shot out and collided with Gu Jianba. Boom! A rumbling sound rang out, and then the cold light and the sword wave dissipated in unison. Not bad, not bad. This time, the sword wave was able to withstand 20% of my strength. Not bad indeed. Spirit Fox number 1 laughed after the attack. Swoosh. Seeing Ning Yu and Spirit Fox number 1 fighting, Li Tongtian did not stay idle. He rose from the ground and infused his primordial qi into the silver-white flying sword in his hand. Then, he charged straight at Spirit Fox number 1. Humph! If a tiger doesn't show its might, you'll think I'm a sick cat. Seeing that Li Tongtian was about to attack him, Spirit Fox number 1's face turned extremely ugly. It was one thing for Ning Yu to attack him. After all, Ning Yu's strength was clear for all to see. But where did Li Tongtian get his courage from? He only needed to use 20% of his strength to defeat or even kill a mere peak primal core practitioner. Bang! As expected, Li Tongtian's attack was easily dodged by the Spirit Fox number 1. Then, the Spirit Fox number 1 raised its right leg and kicked Li Tongtian's buttock. The searing pain from his buttocks sent Li Tongtian flying several feet away. He fell flat on his face and fainted. 3 more minutes. Hold on for another 3 minutes. Ning Yu turned to look at Feng Zi, who was already nearing Spirit Fox number 5. He began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen and the rest. No matter what, you have to hold on for 3 more minutes. Understood. Ning Yu's words rang in his mind. Sun Jiangwen gritted his teeth and charged at Spirit Fox number 1. Bang! However, Sun Jiangwen was only a peak primal core practitioner after all. Even though his soul power was at the peak of the 7th grade, he could only withstand 2 blows from Spirit Fox number 1 before being defeated. 30 seconds. Sun Jiangwen had used his life to delay for 30 seconds. Following that, Wang Haiba and Spirit Fox number 1 engaged in a fierce battle. Wang Haiba's cultivation was at the middle stage of the yin-yang stage. Compared to Sun Jiangwen, he could hold on for a longer time. 1 minute. Wang Haiba held on for a full minute before being defeated. 1.5 minutes left. Up until now, the only people on Ning Yu's side who could still fight were Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor. The rest had all been defeated. Relying solely on Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor to hold on for 2 minutes was too difficult. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Moreover, Spirit Fox number 1 had already noticed Feng Zi's actions not far away. His face darkened completely. He berated in a low voice, "I advise you to release Spirit Fox number 5 immediately. Otherwise, I will turn all of you into ashes." Ha ha ha, you want me to release Spirit Fox number 5? Feng Zi stepped on Spirit Fox number 5's neck with his ankle and laughed. "Kneel down and kowtow to me twice. Maybe I will be merciful and release Spirit Fox number 5. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You're courting death." Spirit Fox number 1 clenched his fists tightly. In the next moment, he rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he charged straight at Feng Zi. "Dark Emperor, go!" Seeing that Spirit Fox number 1 had given up on him and turned to attack Feng Zi, Ning Yu did not dare to delay. He leaped up and blocked Spirit Fox number 1 in midair. "Get out of my way!" At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1 was on the verge of exploding with rage. He was in a hurry to save Spirit Fox number 5. Therefore, when he saw Ning Yu blocking in front of him, he immediately threw a punch. At this critical moment, Ning Yu hurriedly channeled all the energy from the 7 illusory golden cores in his sea of consciousness into his fist. It collided with Spirit Fox number 1's fist. Bam! When the 2 fists collided, Ning Yu felt a huge force coming from his fist, causing him to feel a metallic taste in his throat. Fortunately, there were 7 illusory golden cores in Ning Yu's sea of consciousness. Otherwise, Spirit Fox number 1's punch alone would have turned him into ashes. This was because Spirit Fox number 1 had used 80% of his strength. Even so, Ning Yu's body was sent flying and crashed heavily into a towering tree. Crack! The huge tree was almost snapped in half. On the other hand, Ning Yu's face was pale and his breathing had dropped to a freezing point. If you want to save Spirit Fox number 5, you have to ask for my permission first. At this point, the Dark Emperor knew that he had to step forward. At the very least, he had to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute. The Dark Emperor was only at the pinnacle of the Primal Core stage. If he wanted to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute, there was only one way. And that was to transform into his original form, the purple-gold heaven-swallowing hound. Whoosh! In midair, the Dark Emperor's body suddenly enlarged and a pair of purple-gold wings appeared on his back. The king of the heaven-swallowing hound tribe, the purple-gold heaven-swallowing hound. The moment the Dark Emperor transformed into his original form, Spirit Fox number 1 was stunned. After a short moment of shock, Spirit Fox number 1's face lit up with joy. Compared to the purple-gold heaven-swallowing hound, Spirit Fox number 5's safety was not that important. Capture him alive! In an instant, an idea popped into Spirit Fox number 1's mind. Capture him alive! There was a huge difference in value between a dead and alive purple-gold heaven-swallowing hound. Accepting this mission was the right choice. As long as I can capture you alive, even if I am the only one left in the Spirit Fox team, it will be worth it. The more Spirit Fox number 1 thought about it, the more excited he became. In the end, he could not help but laugh out loud. Sha sha. The Dark Emperor did not care if Spirit Fox number 1 was excited or not. His mission was to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute. If he could block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute, that would be the best. Purple Gold Heaven-Swallowing Hound, are you going to surrender or do you want me to attack you first? Chapter 502. Explosion. It's not impossible for me to surrender, but you have to at least show some sincerity, right? The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes, spread out his hands and said, I can't possibly surrender just because of your words. If that's the case, I'll lose too much face. Hee hee, a dog wants to save face. What a joke. Spirit Fox number 1 smiled and said. From Spirit Fox number 1's point of view, the reason why he didn't want to use force was because he was afraid that the Dark Emperor would self-destruct in a moment of desperation. Spirit Fox number 1 knew that the heaven-swallowing dog could self-destruct at any time. He was afraid that if he forced the purple-gold heaven-swallowing dog in front of him, it might self-destruct. At that time, he would really go for wool and come home shorn. Not only did he fail to save Spirit Fox number 5, he also failed to capture the purple-gold heaven-swallowing dog. However, when he saw that the Dark Emperor had no intention of self-destructing, he relaxed a little and decided to make a move himself, hoping to quickly subdue the Dark Emperor. Swish! Spirit Fox number 1 was not an indecisive person. He attacked as soon as he said he would. In the blink of an eye, he arrived beside the Dark Emperor. His hands were like pincers as he grabbed the pair of purple-gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back. Roar! Looking at Spirit Fox number 1 who was approaching him, the Dark Emperor's eyes turned cold. He then opened his mouth and let out a loud roar. How can a mere dog roar stop me? Spirit Fox number 1 seemed to have guessed what the Dark Emperor was going to do. His ears were slightly bent and blocked his ears, preventing him from hearing anything from the outside world. 30 seconds left. Seeing that the roar was useless, the Dark Emperor turned around and ran. As a purple-gold heaven-swallowing dog, the Dark Emperor's speed was not slow. The purple-gold wings on his back flapped quickly, and he pulled away from Spirit Fox number 1 in an instant. Trying to run? It's not that easy. The Dark Emperor did not know how to appreciate favors, causing Spirit Fox number 1 to feel very embarrassed. After all, he had spoken for so long, but in the end, the Dark Emperor treated it like he was farting. Swoosh! After a cold snort, Spirit Fox number 1 raised his speed to the limit and chased after the Dark Emperor. Although the Dark Emperor was very fast, Spirit Fox number 1 was even faster. In just 20 seconds, the Dark Emperor was caught. However, the Dark Emperor had already stopped beside Ningyu. At the same time, he looked at Spirit Fox number 1 provocatively and said, "Spirit Fox number 1, don't you feel tired after chasing me for so long? If you're tired, you can stop and rest, then we'll continue." "Humph! You're about to die, yet you still dare to be stubborn. The ignorant are truly fearless." Spirit Fox number 1 was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. How could he possibly stop to rest? After a cold snort, Li Linghu 1 tore through the void and appeared beside the Dark Emperor. She clenched her right fist and punched the Dark Emperor's chest. Spirit Fox number 1 had used 80% of his strength in this punch. It was to subdue the Dark Emperor and prevent any unforeseen events from happening. Looking at the fist that was gradually expanding in his eyes, the Dark Emperor's eyes were filled with shock and despair. Kacha! However, what the Dark Emperor was worried about did not happen. Instead, a clear and melodious voice, accompanied by a pig-like scream, rang out in his ears. "What's going on?" The Dark Emperor's eyes moved and finally fixed on the two figures in front of him. In front of him stood two figures. The one closest to him was Ningyu and the other was naturally Spirit Fox number 1. At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1's face was extremely distorted. What surprised the Dark Emperor was not Spirit Fox number 1's distorted face, but his bloodied right hand. The branch of the Tree of World is indeed effective. Even someone as strong as Spirit Fox number 1 has suffered. Just as Spirit Fox number 1's fist was about to hit the Dark Emperor, Ningyu remembered that he had the branch of the Tree of World on him. He moved quickly and blocked the fatal blow for the Dark Emperor. Ningyu was not a fool. He knew that he was no match for Spirit Fox number 1. Therefore, he did not take the attack head-on. Instead, he quietly summoned the Tree of World and collided head-on with Spirit Fox number 1's fist. Ningyu was very satisfied with the result. The bones in Spirit Fox number 1's right hand were almost completely broken. It was even more miserable than Wang Haibao's. "Ningyu, it's done." At this moment Feng Zi, who was not far away, shouted. Hearing Feng Zi's words, Ningyu's face revealed a look of ecstasy. However, Ningyu had not lost his mind. He knew that Spirit Fox number 1 still had extremely strong combat strength. He was just too busy treating the injuries on his palm to care about anything else. Once Spirit Fox number 1 was freed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, Ningyu threw the storage ring into the air and said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and enter the storage ring. Leave the rest to me." Understood. Feng Zi and the rest were not fools. They knew that they would not be able to help Ningyu even if they stayed. Therefore, they immediately jumped up and rushed towards the storage ring. In just a few seconds, including Wang Haibao and the Dark Emperor, all the warriors had entered the storage ring to hide. Right now, the only warriors left in this area were Ningyu, Spirit Fox number 1, Spirit Fox number 5, Li Tongtian, who was severely injured and unconscious, and Ouyang Hai and the rest who were dead. Just as the Dark Emperor and the rest entered the storage ring, Ningyu saw Spirit Fox number 1 gritting his teeth, raising his left hand and chopping off his right wrist. Swoosh! When Spirit Fox No. 1 chopped off his wrist, Ningyu did not stay idle. He leaped up and did not even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. In an instant, he appeared beside Spirit Fox number 5. Swoosh! Just as Ningyu appeared beside Spirit Fox number 5, Spirit Fox number 1 caught up. "Spirit Fox number 1, if you don't want him to die, I advise you not to come over." Ningyu placed the red devil sword on Spirit Fox number 5's neck and said coldly, "I want you to die." However, Spirit Fox number 1 did not listen to Ningyu's words at all. His face was ferocious as he punched towards Ningyu's head with a violent gust of wind. Spirit Fox number 1's punch was heavy and he used 100% of his strength to kill Ningyu in one blow. At this point, Spirit Fox number 1 had already thought things through. There was no need to hold back anymore. He could only kill Ningyu forcefully. That way, nothing else would happen. Impulsiveness is the devil. This saying is true. However, when Spirit Fox number 1's fist was 30 centimeters away from Ningyu's head, Ningyu's lips curled into a smile and he said, "Goodbye, Spirit Fox number 1. This time, I won't." Damn it. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Spirit Fox number 1 chose to ignore him. However, before he could finish his sentence, his expression changed greatly and he revealed a terrified expression once again. This was because he saw Ningyu's palm landing heavily on Spirit Fox number 5's head. Rumble! In the next moment, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in the area. Oh no, it's the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. At the same time, in a forest not far away, a few martial artists' expressions changed. They instantly increased their speed to the maximum and flew towards Ningyu. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that he was very familiar with one of the martial artists. Chapter 503. Black Pot Rumble. The self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist was extremely powerful. Especially at the center of the explosion, it was so powerful that it was enough to destroy a true martial realm martial artist in an instant. Ningyu wasn't a fool. He naturally wouldn't put himself in danger. Swoosh! The instant Spirit Fox number 5 exploded, Ningyu grabbed Ouyang Hai, who was beside him, and entered his storage ring. As for Spirit Fox number 1, he was not so lucky. His right hand was already severely injured. Now that he was caught off guard by Spirit Fox number 5's self-destruction, the result was obvious. The aftermath of the explosion hit Spirit Fox number 1, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His clothes were stained red. Although Li Tongtian was far away from the center of the explosion, he was still affected. Fortunately, Li Tongtian woke up at the critical moment. He gathered all his primordial qi around his body and set up a primordial qi shield. Otherwise, this shock wave alone would have been enough to kill him in his heavily injured state. Swoosh! When the aftermath of the explosion disappeared, Ningyu grabbed Ouyang Hai and dashed out of the storage ring. Ningyu and Ouyang Hai's clothes were tattered and there were even a few burns on their skin. Spirit Fox number 1, who was breathing weakly not far away, looked similar to Ningyu and Ouyang Hai. Those who did not know the inside story would think that they had experienced the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Go! When Ningyu saw Spirit Fox number 1 struggling to even stand up, the corners of his lips curled up. With a flick of his wrist, a trace of soul power shot out and headed straight for Spirit Fox number 1. The Spirit Fox number 1's eyes flashed with terror as it stared at the soul power that was rushing towards it. It wanted to block the attack, but it lacked the strength to do so. Without a doubt, the soul force entered Spirit Fox number 1's sea of consciousness and lay dormant. Phew! After doing all this, Ningyu let out a long breath and murmured, although the space in the storage ring was almost destroyed, the reward was huge. If it weren't for Sun Jiangwen and the Dark Emperor supporting the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, the storage ring would have been shattered long ago. As it turned out, Ningyu's gamble was right. Spirit Fox. Oh no. However, just as Ningyu was about to say something, his expression changed drastically. This was because his keen perception could tell that there were several cultivators rushing over from not too far away from this area. From these cultivators, Ningyu discovered an extremely familiar aura. Since Old Tan is here, then the rest of the martial artists must be from the royal family. Ningyu rolled his eyes. Then, he exerted some force on his ankle and kicked Ouyang Hai to the foot of Spirit Fox number 1. Then, Ningyu's eyes rolled back and he fell backward. Looking at Ouyang Hai at his feet, Spirit Fox number 1's mouth gaped open, his face filled with confusion. Voila! Just as Spirit Fox Number One's face was filled with confusion, several figures approached from afar. In an instant they appeared in the area. Spirit Fox Number One, hurry up and release the third prince. Old Tan shouted as soon as he appeared. Obviously, Old Tan saw Ouyang Hai at the foot of Spirit Fox Number One. Stop talking nonsense with him. Attack. Next to Old Tan, an elder of late-stage Yin-Yang realm rushed out with a cold look in his eyes. This late-stage Yin-Yang realm elder was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared next to Spirit Fox Number One. Bang! Bang! 2 consecutive punches were thrown. One landed on Spirit Fox Number One's chest, while the other landed on his head. Spirit Fox Number One was already severely injured and on the verge of death. Now that he was hit by 2 powerful punches, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Oh no, the third prince has been killed. After forcing Spirit Fox Number One to retreat, the elder of late-stage Yin-Yang realm focused his perception on Ouyang Hai. His face instantly turned gloomy. As a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, he naturally knew that Ouyang Hai could not be more dead. Even if God came, he would not be able to save Ouyang Hai. What? The third prince has been killed. Hearing the words of the late-stage Yin-Yang realm elder, Old Tan's expression changed and his heart sank. His mission this time was to escort the third prince to Shishan City. Now that the third prince had been killed, he would definitely be held responsible. One could imagine that Ouyang Ba would definitely not let him off when they returned to the capital. Now that things have come to this, there's no turning back. On the other side, a middle-stage Yin-Yang realm middle-aged man said, "The only thing we can do now is to bring Spirit Fox Number One back to the capital and interrogate the person who issued this mission." Yes, yes, bring Spirit Fox Number One back to the capital. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Old Tan seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw and said hurriedly, "The assassination pavilion has even mobilized the Spirit Fox team. This must be a premeditated murder. There are 2 survivors here." Suddenly, the late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist said, "Should we finish them off as well?" Hearing this, Old Tan shifted his gaze over. It's Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. When he saw the 2 familiar figures lying on the ground, Old Tan was slightly stunned and then asked in confusion, "Why aren't the 2 of them dead? Could this matter be related to them?" That shouldn't be possible. The late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist shook his head and pointed at Ningyu. This martial artist's aura is weak and even his consciousness is in a mess. From this we can see that he was also severely injured in the explosion. He was just lucky that he didn't die on the spot. As for Li Tongtian, he's not much better. Apart from his broken ribs, he has also ruptured several major tendons and veins. If we don't treat him in time, I'm afraid he won't live past tomorrow. Wan Jingtian, we have to find someone to take the blame, right? Otherwise, when we meet the Emperor, Old Tan will definitely suffer. The middle-aged man frowned. That's true. The late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist called Wan Jingtian pondered for a moment before saying, "This is a heavy responsibility. I'm afraid one person won't be able to take it. In my opinion, let the 2 of them take the blame. Even so, I'm afraid that the Emperor won't believe me." Old Tan looked worried. "Hee, with Fong Ming and me speaking up for you, the Emperor will definitely believe you." Wan Jingtian laughed. "That's right. If we add Spirit Fox Number One's accusations, then the 2 of them will have to take the blame even if they don't want to." Fong Ming said sinisterly. "I can't thank you enough. If I can get through this, I'll do anything for you 2 in the future." Old Tan quickly cupped his fists and said solemnly, "It's still too early to talk about this. The most important thing now is to bring the 3 of them back to the capital." Wan Jingtian waved his hand, then grabbed Spirit Fox Number One and Ouyang Hai and flew toward the capital. Behind him, Fong Ming carried Ning Yu and followed closely. Chapter 504. Swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the forest that was not too dense, a few silhouettes dashed past. In order not to cause any trouble, Old Tan and the rest did not take the main road. Instead, they took a shortcut to the capital. The death of the third prince was a big deal. Without the emperor's permission, Old Tan and the rest did not dare to announce it. Taking a shortcut to the capital was the best choice. You want me to be the scapegoat? Not so easy. Ningyu had heard every single word of the conversation between Old Tan, Wan Jingtian, and the rest. Ningyu knew very well that Ouyang Ba would be furious when he found out that Ouyang Hai was killed. By then, it was not impossible for him to order Fong Ping to be killed. Luckily, I left a trace of soul force in Spirit Fox No. 1's consciousness. Otherwise, this matter would be tricky and Li Tongtian's injuries would be difficult to deal with. Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. After all, Li Tongtian's injuries could not be delayed for long. If it came down to it, Ningyu decided to take action forcefully. No matter what, he could not let Li Tongtian die. After that, Ningyu disguised himself carefully to prevent Fong Ming from noticing anything. After all, Fong Ming was an intermediate yin-yang state martial artist. His perception was extremely strong. If he found out that his injuries were fake, the consequences would be dire. Swoosh. Fong Ming and the rest were very fast. In just an hour they arrived at the capital. However, it was not the main gate but the side gate. We'll enter the capital in batches later. I'll bring Spirit Fox No. 1 and Ouyang Hai to meet the Emperor first. You guys find a place to rest. At the side gate, Wan Jingtian was still more cautious. He said in a deep voice, "Wait for the Emperor to calm down before you guys meet him." Understood, Fong Ming and Old Tan replied in unison. Old Tan, in particular, cast a grateful look at Wan Jingtian. One could imagine how furious Ouyang Ba would be when he saw that Ouyang Hai was killed. If Old Tan was here at this moment, he would most likely be in trouble. Wan Jingtian's actions were clearly to give Elder Tan some buffer time. To be precise, he had saved his life. I will communicate with the Emperor and tell him that Ningyu and Li Tongtian have already escaped and that I have sent the two of you to hunt them down. Wan Jingtian waved his hand and in a flash, he entered the capital. Old Tan, let's go. Watching Wan Jingtian leave, Fong Ming took a step forward, intending to enter the capital. However, Fong Ming hadn't even taken a few steps when Old Tan's voice resounded in his ears. Fong Ming, I hope you can help me one more time. Elder Tan looked troubled. After hesitating for a while, he said, Li Tongtian can't die. I hope that you can personally join up his meridians. Why must Li Tongtian not die? Fong Ming's brows twitched when he heard Old Tan's words. From Fong Ming's point of view, Ningyu and Li Tongtian were no different. They were both ordinary genius martial artists. It was just that one of them had reached the pinnacle of the primal core realm, while the other was merely at the pinnacle of the true martial realm. From what Old Tan had said, it seemed like there was more to it than met the eye. Li Tongtian can't die. Old Tan took a deep breath and said, although Ningyu is a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred College, it will be troublesome if he dies, but it won't be too big of a deal. It won't be enough to cause a war between Danwu College and the royal family. Li Tongtian is different. His identity is more special. If he dies in our hands, it will most likely cause a war between the royal family and Danwu College. Gasp. Old Tan's solemn words caused Fong Ming to gasp as he asked, It's that serious? Old Tan nodded and said in a low voice, It is indeed that serious. In fact, it might be even more serious than that. What is Li Tongtian's identity? At this point, Fong Ming was very curious about Li Tongtian's identity. He has a close relationship with a big shot from Danwu College. After saying this, Old Tan seemed to be afraid that Fong Ming would misunderstand, so he added, This is all I know. No wonder Li Tongtian was able to scare away Qian who was in the intermediate stage of Yin-Yang realm, with just a black token back in the palace. Although Ning Yu's eyes were tightly shut, he heard the conversation between Old Tan and Fang Ming clearly. Especially when he heard that Li Tongtian's identity was special, Ning Yu couldn't help but recall the scene back in the palace. Qian, who was already furious at first. Who would have thought that Li Tongtian's identity would scare him away with just a token? At that time, Ning Yu guessed that Li Tongtian's identity was not simple. Since they want to treat Li Tongtian, I'll wait. Originally, Ning Yu had planned to forcefully take action. Now, it seemed like he could wait a little longer. Fang Ming, not only has your cultivation reached the intermediate stage of Yin-Yang realm, but your soul force has also reached the early stage of 7th grade. Just as Ning Yu was deep in thought, Old Tan's voice sounded again. As long as you take action, I believe you will be able to treat Li Tongtian in no time. I can only say that I will do my best. A few of Li Tongtian's main tendons and meridians have been severed. If we don't want to leave any side effects, we will need a martial artist whose soul force has reached the peak of 7th grade. Fang Ming said in a low voice, reconnecting the tendons and meridians cannot be sloppy. There are too many people in the capital and it will inevitably attract attention. In my opinion, it's better to leave the capital and find a quiet place with fewer people to help Li Tongtian reconnect his tendons and meridians. What if the Emperor summons us? Old Tan was still a little worried. You don't have to worry about this. Wan Jingtian said that he sent us to hunt down Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. It's reasonable for us to delay our return to the capital, Fang Ming said. The moment he said reasonable, Fang Ming picked up Ning Yu, turned around, and dashed into the distance. Old Tan didn't dare to delay. He carried Li Tongtian and followed behind Fang Ming. Sha sha. After flying for a full hour, Fang Ming and Old Tan finally stopped in a wide-open space. Old Tan put Li Tongtian down. Go and stand guard for me. While I'm treating Li Tongtian, don't let anyone disturb me. Fang Ming casually threw Ning Yu to the side and said to Old Tan, I will need about 2 hours. In other words, within these 2 hours, no one, including you, can disturb me. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain. Understood. Old Tan knew that Li Tongtian couldn't die. Therefore, after hearing Fang Ming's words, he carefully put Li Tongtian down and went to stand guard at a distance willingly. Whoosh! Although Old Tan was standing guard at a distance, Fang Ming was still a little worried. With a flick of his sleeve, a vigorous wave of Yuan Qi swept out and formed a Yuan Qi barrier around them. The area covered by this Yuan Qi barrier was relatively large, even surrounding Ning Yu. Reconnecting the tendons and meridians was a major project. Fang Ming didn't dare to be sloppy. After the Yuan Qi barrier was set up, Fang Ming separated a bit of soul force into Li Tongtian's body and began to examine it carefully. Chapter 505. Who's scheming against whom? Fang Ming's soul power has reached the early 7th grade. He should be able to stabilize Li Tongtian's condition. Ning Yu's eyes turned solemn as he stared at Li Tongtian, who was breathing weakly. Li Tongtian's face turned pale as a few of his main meridians were ruptured. If Li Tongtian had not sealed his meridians with his soul power, he would have died by now. Sun Jiangwen, how much longer do you and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy need to recover? With the strength of Fang Ming's soul power, it was almost impossible for him to heal Li Tongtian. Therefore, Ning Yu decided to ask Sun Jiangwen and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy for help. However, Sun Jiangwen and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy were injured during the battle with Spirit Fox No. 1 and had yet to recover. Half an hour, give us another half an hour. Sun Jiangwen replied in the storage ring. Hurry up. Li Tongtian's condition cannot be delayed for too long. Otherwise, there might be repercussions, Ning Yu said in a deep voice. Crack. Meanwhile, in the capital, in the palace, in a certain luxurious room, a clear voice mixed with a gloomy and cold voice resounded. Investigate. We must get to the bottom of this matter. Don't let any suspicious person go. Looking at the familiar figure lying in front of him, Ouyang Ba rose to his feet and smashed the chair he was sitting on into pieces. He said in a cold voice, "I'd rather kill 1,000 innocent people than let a single one go." Ouyang Ba was extremely furious at this moment. He did not expect Ouyang Hai to deliver such a grievous news not long after he left the capital. The assassination pavilion really ate a bear's heart and a leopard's gall to actually dare to provoke the emperor. Looking at the dying spirit fox number 1, Ouyang Ba said in a cold voice, "Pass down my order. Destroy the assassination pavilion." "Your Majesty, you mustn't do that." Hearing Ouyang Ba's words, Wan Jingtian hurriedly said, "It's a troubled time now. The corpse sect is eyeing the capital covetously. If we attack the assassination pavilion now, it's very likely that the corpse sect will take advantage of it." Ouyang Ba's face turned gloomy and he remained silent. Seeing that Ouyang Ba did not respond, Wan Jingtian continued, "The most important thing now is to find the person who issued the mission in the assassination pavilion. As for the debt with the assassination pavilion, we can settle it slowly in the future." "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and investigate," Ouyang Ba berated. "Your Majesty, there is some progress in the matter," Wan Jingtian said. "All the signs point to 2 people." "Who?" Ouyang Ba asked. "Ning Yu and Li Tongtian," Wan Jingtian replied. The 2 of them, this time, Ouyang Ba did not fly into a rage. Instead, he calmed down. Although Ouyang Ba was enraged, he did not lose his rationality. If someone else had gone to the assassination pavilion to issue a mission, he might have believed it. However, he would never believe that it was Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. After all, Ning Yu and Li Tongtian were smart people. There was no reason for them to go against the royal family. After pondering for a moment, Ouyang Ba said, "Pry open Spirit Fox number 1's mouth. I want to know who issued the mission." "Understood." Wan Jingtian had been waiting for this moment. On the way here, he had already discussed it with Spirit Fox number 1. As long as Spirit Fox number 1 insisted that it was Ning Yu and Li Tongtian who issued the mission, he would think of a way to save Spirit Fox number 1's life. Although they had discussed it, they still had to put on an act. Therefore, Wan Jingtian raised his right leg and gave Spirit Fox number 1 a heavy kick. He then yelled coldly, "Spirit Fox number 1, this is your only chance to live. Tell me who issued the mission." Whoosh! As soon as Wan Jingtian's foot landed on Spirit Fox number 1's body, Ning Yu, who was in the dense forest outside the capital, had a cold look in his eyes. "Humph! Trying to frame me? It's not that easy." Ning Yu let out a cold harumph. He then closed his eyes and began to communicate with the soul force in Spirit Fox number 1's knowledge sea. At this moment, the soul force that Ning Yu had left in Spirit Fox number 1's knowledge sea was playing a crucial role. This was because it could control Spirit Fox number 1's thoughts. The severely injured Spirit Fox number 1's thoughts were no longer under his control. It was completely under Ning Yu's control. "You want me to tell you who issued the mission?" Spirit Fox number 1's eyes were filled with malice as he said darkly. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Wan Jingtian admired Spirit Fox number 1's acting skills. This was because they had not discussed this beforehand. Since Spirit Fox number 1 was putting in so much effort, Wan Jingtian had to cooperate. Crack! However, Wan Jingtian's way of cooperating was a little special. He kicked Spirit Fox number 1's knee and broke it. F*CKU. "Even if you kill me, I won't tell you who issued the mission." Spirit Fox number 1 did not compromise. Instead, his eyes turned even colder. "Do you think I won't dare to kill you?" Wan Jingtian took a step forward and said darkly. At this moment, Wan Jingtian even wanted to give Spirit Fox number 1 a thumbs up. This cooperation was really amazing. The more Spirit Fox number 1 resisted, the more Ouyang Ba would believe him when he mentioned that Ning Yu and Li Tongtian had issued the mission. Spirit Fox number 1, it's fine if you don't tell me. I can send someone to find out who issued the mission. At this moment, Ouyang Ba spoke in a deep voice. I can see that you are a talent. I want to give you a chance to make up for your mistakes. If you continue to be stubborn, I don't mind killing you on the spot. As soon as he said the word kill, Ouyang Ba unleashed his aura and pressed it down on Spirit Fox number 1. Under the pressure of Ouyang Ba's aura, Spirit Fox number 1 spat out a mouthful of blood. His already pale face turned even paler. Spirit Fox number 1, this is your last chance. Tell me who issued the mission. What the F***ck are you talking about? Wan Jingtian's lips curled into an unnoticeable smile. However, before he could finish his sentence, his eyes widened and his face filled with confusion. It was Tai Xing and Bao Ming who issued the mission at the Assassin Pavilion. Spirit Fox number 1 wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes looked unnatural, but he still said, after that, I sent someone to follow them. In the end, the martial artists who contacted them were Fong Ming and Old Tan. Actually, it was no wonder that Wan Jingtian was confused. This was because Spirit Fox number 1's words were completely different from what he had discussed with him. Slander, this is all slander. After a brief moment of confusion, Wan Jingtian quickly explained to Ouyang Ba, I swear on my honor that this was not done by Fong Ming and Old Tan. You swear on your honor? You're not a good person either. You've known about this for a long time. Spirit Fox number 1 laughed sinisterly. If I'm not mistaken, Fong Ming and Old Tan should have caught up to Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. I'm guessing that they are currently fighting. Wan Jingtian, what's going on? Why haven't Old Tan and Fong Ming returned to see me? Chapter 506. Courting Death, Your Majesty, you can't trust the words of the number 1 Spirit Fox. He's slandering me. Wan Jingtian had never expected Ning Yu to be controlling the number 1 Spirit Fox. The words of the number 1 Spirit Fox were exactly what Ning Yu wanted to say. Your Majesty, Wan Jingtian blurted out. Answer me. Ouyang Ba interrupted Wan Jingtian and said coldly. It would have been better if Wan Jingtian had not explained himself. As soon as he did, Ouyang Ba became even more suspicious of him. Old Tan and Fong Ming have indeed gone after Ning Yu and the rest. Wan Jingtian answered honestly when he saw that Ouyang Ba was enraged. Wan Jingtian glared at the number 1 Spirit Fox as he spoke. At that moment, Wan Jingtian could not wait to kill the number 1 Spirit Fox right away. He had worked so hard and ended up being bitten by the number 1 Spirit Fox. Wan Jingtian was well aware that he could not show any murderous intent at that moment. Otherwise, Ouyang Ba would assume that something was up. Your Majesty, there's something that I'm not sure if I should say. At that instant, the voice of the number 1 Spirit Fox was heard once again, albeit hesitantly. Speak. Ouyang Ba said in a deep voice. The number 1 Spirit Fox is afraid that the truth will be exposed, so he left a stream of soul force in my divine sense in an attempt to control me. The number 1 Spirit Fox said while clenching his teeth. Ouyang Ba raised his eyebrows and discreetly sent a portion of his senses into the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense. With a single glance, Ouyang Ba's expression immediately darkened. He had indeed discovered a unique stream of soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense. Wan Jingtian, how do you explain the soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense? Although he had discovered the soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense, Ouyang Ba did not make a decision. He wanted to hear Wan Jingtian's explanation first. There's my soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense? Why didn't I know about it? Wan Jingtian was slightly startled and immediately walked toward the number 1 Spirit Fox. As he approached the number 1 Spirit Fox, Wan Jingtian secretly sent a portion of his senses into the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense. This is the moment. Wan Jingtian had just unleashed his perception when Ningyu, who was in the dense forest, had a cold expression on his face. He controlled his soul power and began to wreak havoc in the Spirit Fox number 1's sea of consciousness. Poochie. Spirit Fox number 1 was already heavily damaged. How could it withstand Ningyu's torment? Without a doubt, Spirit Fox number 1 spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes rolled back and he died. What? The sudden death of the Spirit Fox number 1 caused Wan Jingtian's heart to sink. At such an important moment, Spirit Fox number 1 actually died. Your Majesty, Wan Jingtian knew very well that Ouyang Ba would definitely suspect him after the death of the spiritual fox number 1, hence he immediately tried to explain himself. Shut up. As expected, before Wan Jingtian could finish his words, Ouyang Ba said coldly, "Before we find out the truth, you'll stay in this room. You're not allowed to go anywhere without my permission." As he spoke, Ouyang Ba carried Ouyang Hai in his arms. After pondering for a moment, he carried Spirit Fox number 1 and flew out of the room. Who can tell me what the F***ck is going on? Wan Jingtian felt like his lungs were about to explode as he stared at Ouyang Ba's back. He had been thinking of ways to trick Ningyu and Li Tongtian along the way. Who would have thought that he would be tricked by Spirit Fox number 1 in the end? However, Wan Jingtian was not too worried. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. Ouyang Ba would definitely not be able to find out the truth. However, Wan Jingtian did not dare to leave the room. He knew very well that his cultivation level at the advanced stage of Yin-Yang realm was not enough for him to leave the palace. Ningyu had no idea that Wan Jingtian was confined to his room. After the death of Spirit Fox number 1, Ningyu had placed all his attention on Li Tongtian. After a period of treatment by Fang Ming, 2 of Li Tongtian's meridians had been reconnected. At this moment, Fang Ming was reconnecting Li Tongtian's 3rd meridian, which was also the most important meridian. If it was successful, Fang Ming would be able to overcome this obstacle. If it failed, Fang Ming would be in grave danger. The next moment, Li Tongtian spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His aura had dropped to the freezing point. As Fang Ming's soul power was only at the early stage of 7th grade, he had failed at the crucial moment. Whoosh! Since he had failed, Fang Ming waved his hand and removed the Yuan Qi barrier around him. Failed? So quickly? Seeing that Fang Ming had removed the Yuan Qi barrier, Old Tan's figure flashed and he came to Li Tongtian's side. However, after seeing Li Tongtian's pitiful state, Elder Tan's originally excited expression turned into one of astonishment. His mouth gaped open. I've failed. Li Tongtian's main meridian is too difficult to reconnect. With the strength of my soul power, it's very difficult to reconnect it. Fang Ming shook his head and said, "If I'm not wrong, Li Tongtian still has an hour to live. In other words, if we can find a martial artist whose soul power is at the peak of 7th grade within this hour, we might be able to save Li Tongtian's life. It took us an hour to get here from the capital. Where do you expect me to find a martial artist whose soul power is at the peak of 7th grade within this hour?" Old Tan frowned. "Since we can't find one, we might as well kill Li Tongtian and Ningyu." Fang Ming placed his palm on his neck and said coldly, "Let me think about it. Killing Ningyu was fine, but killing Li Tongtian was something Old Tan was hesitant about. After all, Li Tongtian's backing was very powerful, so powerful that it was comparable to the ancestors of the royal family. What else is there to think about? Li Tongtian is about to die anyway. We're just helping him out." Fang Ming said viciously, "When the time comes, we can push his death onto the Spirit Fox team." "Let me think about it." Old Tan was still very worried. Li Tongtian's backing was very powerful. Old Tan was afraid that he would find out, so he did not dare to make a move. "Old Tan, when did you become so submissive?" Even if you don't kill Li Tongtian, he will still die. You better think carefully. I've already connected 2 of Li Tongtian's meridians. If anyone finds out, neither you nor I will have a good ending. Fang Ming continued, the only thing we can do now is to kill Li Tongtian and dispose of his corpse. Dead men tell no tales. Old Tan took a deep breath and murmured, I guess that's the only way, swoosh. Hearing Elder Tan's words, Fang Ming raised his right hand and chopped at Li Tongtian's neck. You can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have. Old Tan's fist carried a violent gust of primal qi as he attacked Ningyu on the other side. To Old Tan and Fang Ming, killing Li Tongtian and Ningyu was perhaps the best and most correct choice. Swoosh. However, just as Old Tan reached Ningyu's side, Ningyu's eyes suddenly opened. At the same time, 3 beams of cold light shot out from the storage ring on Ningyu's wrist. One went for Fang Ming, while the other went for Li Tongtian. Chapter 507. White Token, oh no! Sensing the figure behind him, Fang Ming's expression changed drastically. Without any time to think, he retreated immediately. As a yin-yang intermediate stage martial artist, Fang Ming could naturally sense the cultivation of the martial artist behind him. Pinnacle Advanced Stage, Yin-yang Advanced Stage. Although Fang Ming was puzzled as to why a Pinnacle Advanced Stage, Yin-yang Advanced Stage martial artist would attack him, he was no fool. He knew that he had to retreat now, or the consequences would be dire. However, Fang Ming's retreat was obviously slower. He had only taken a few steps back when the leader of the alchemy division appeared beside him. A fist brought with it a violent gust of primordial qi as it flew towards Fang Ming's head. The punch was heavy and the primordial qi was exceptionally violent. If Fang Ming was unlucky enough to be hit by it, he would be crippled even if he did not die. Damn it! After cursing under his breath, Fang Ming had no choice but to clench his right fist and collide with the punch of the leader of the alchemy division. Crack! As the 2 fists collided, a crisp sound reverberated throughout the area. The leader of the alchemy division's eyes turned cold, and he was about to strike again. Capture him alive. I have something to ask him. Just as the leader of the alchemy division was about to strike again, Ningyu's voice rang in his ears. Slightly taken aback, he immediately changed his attack method. The leader of the alchemy division was a Pinnacle Advanced Stage, Yin-yang Advanced Stage martial artist. If he attacked with all his might, it would not take long for him to kill Fang Ming. Comparatively speaking, capturing Fang Ming alive was more difficult than killing him. The leader of the alchemy division had to change his attack method. Swoosh. On the other side, Sun Jiangwen carried Li Tongtian and returned him to the storage ring. Sun Jiangwen wanted to help Li Tongtian heal his tendons and meridians. Even though Sun Jiangwen's soul power had reached the pinnacle of the 7th grade, it was no exception. Therefore, after Sun Jiangwen carried Li Tongtian, he immediately entered the storage ring. Rumble. On the other hand, the Dark Emperor used his killer move, using almost all of his strength in every move. For a moment, he was on par with Elder Tan. Elder Tan had already advanced to the Pinnacle Advanced Stage, Yin-yang Intermediate Stage. It was not easy for the Dark Emperor to be on par with him. Solitaire. A draw was not what Ningyu wanted. What he wanted was to kill Elder Tan. Ningyu did not hold back at all. He immediately brandished the red demon sword and slashed out an astonishing sword wave. Not good. When Elder Tan and the Dark Emperor were fighting, he already felt great pressure. Now that Ningyu had joined the battle, his heart sank to the bottom. Elder Tan was well aware of Ningyu's strength. He had just advanced to the middle stage of Yin-yang realm, and his cultivation had yet to stabilize. How could he be a match for Ningyu? Chi. At the critical moment, Old Tan forcefully forced the Dark Emperor back, and with a flick of his wrist, a cold light flashed out. The cold light dissipated almost as soon as it collided with the sword wave. Moreover, the sword wave didn't seem to be affected much as it went straight for Elder Tan. Elder Tan blocked solitaire while shouting at Ningyu, "Ningyu, I'm from the royal family. Aren't you afraid of offending the royal family if you dare to kill me?" Only you are allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill you?" Ningyu did not take Elder Tan's threat to heart at all. Instead, he smiled and said, "To tell you the truth, I've long known about your and Wan Jingtian's plan. The reason why I waited until now is to take you down one by one." In the end, Ningyu paused for a moment before continuing, "Don't worry. After you die, I'll get Wan Jingtian to accompany you." "Ningyu, why are you wasting your breath on him?" The Dark Emperor appeared a little impatient as he bellowed, "This place isn't too far from the capital. If we delay any longer, there might be changes." "Understood." Ningyu nodded. Then, he gathered the essence in his sea of consciousness into his fist and charged straight at Elder Tan. This place was indeed a little close to the capital, and the battle between the Alchemist Hall Master and Fong Ming was huge. It would inevitably attract the attention of other experts. Originally, Ningyu wanted to leave Fong Ming alive. But from the looks of it now, it was completely unnecessary. Alchemist Hall Master, there's no need to leave him alive. Just kill Fong Ming directly. Ningyu transmitted his voice to the Alchemist Hall Master as he charged at Elder Tan. "If you guys were to fight me from a distance, perhaps I might be a little apprehensive. Since you're courting death yourself, then don't blame me." Looking at the approaching Ningyu, the corners of Elder Tan's mouth curled up slightly as a sinister smile surfaced on his face. Elder Tan was very confident in the essence in his body. In his opinion, Ningyu was courting death by going head-on with him. However, Elder Tan was obviously thinking too much. How is this possible? When his fist collided with Ningyu's fist, an essence chi undulation that was not weaker than his emanated from Ningyu's fist. Sensing the berserk essence chi undulation contained in Ningyu's fist, even if Elder Tan's cultivation reached middle stage yin-yang realm, his expression changed drastically at this time. He completely did not dare to believe his eyes. The degree of vastness of Ningyu's essence chi was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. Swoosh! Just as Elder Tan was astonished by Ningyu's vigorous essence chi, the Dark Emperor had already arrived by his side. An enormous tail swept towards his body ruthlessly. The Dark Emperor's tail was like a rope. The instant it came into contact with Elder Tan's body, it wrapped around him tightly. "Goodbye." Seeing the Dark Emperor entangling Elder Tan, Ningyu did not hesitate in the slightest. Wielding the Red Fiend sword, he stabbed straight out. Puff! The sound of a flying sword stabbing into flesh rang out. "Ningyu! You can't!" Elder Tan lowered his head and looked at the red flying sword stabbed into his heart area. His mouth opened and closed. Before he finished speaking, he fell to the ground with a thud. At this moment, the middle stage yin-yang realm Elder Tan was directly slain by Ningyu. Poochie! At the same time, on the other side, the Alchemy Master Hall Master immediately launched a powerful attack after receiving Ningyu's order. In the beginning, Fong Ming could still resist a little. But as time passed, Fong Ming finally could not hold on anymore and was punched in the head by the Alchemy Master Hall Master, dying on the spot. Swoosh! After Fong Ming died, the Dark Emperor turned into an afterimage and appeared beside him in an instant. Following that, the Dark Emperor started searching on Fong Ming's body. After a while, the Dark Emperor returned to Ningyu's side. It was just that in his hand there was a white token. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor casually threw the token to Ningyu, then started searching on Elder Tan's body again. Access token? The few black words on the token attracted Ningyu's attention. Fong Ming's cultivation is at the middle stage yin-yang realm. Since even he needs a token to enter a place, it must be a forbidden ground or a special place. Ningyu frowned slightly and muttered, "If I had known earlier, I would have left one person alive. This way I can also force out where the token goes. Ningyu, what do you think this is? Chapter 508. News of Danger Black Pearl? Ningyu glanced over and saw a black pearl in the Dark Emperor's hand. The pearl was around the size of half a fist, and contained a strong fluctuation of vitality. After receiving the black pearl, Ningyu took a closer look at it. There's a seal on the surface of the pearl. It won't be easy to break it in a short period of time. Ningyu shook his head and said. Ningyu probed the black pearl with his soul energy and discovered that there was a seal on the surface of the pearl. The seal was unique. With the strength of his peak 5th grade soul energy, it would be difficult to break it in a short period of time. It's no longer safe here. Let's head to the capital first. After some thought, Ningyu decided to return to the capital. After all, a huge battle had just taken place here. Not long after, a huge group of experts would arrive. At that time, it would be very difficult for him to escape. What about the two of them? The Dark Emperor pointed at Fong Ming and Old Tan, who were long dead, and asked. That's troublesome, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Fong Ming and Old Tan were from the royal family, and Ouyang Ba already knew that they were after him and Li Tongtian. If the two of them died, Ouyang Ba would immediately suspect him. We might as well go all the way and destroy their corpses, Ningyu said coldly after a moment of silence. Understood. As soon as Ningyu finished his sentence, the Dark Emperor appeared beside Old Tan in a flash. Following that, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of liquid. PST. The liquid was black. As soon as it came into contact with Old Tan's body, he disappeared as if he had evaporated into thin air. Holy shit! I didn't expect you to have such a move. Ningyu was dumbfounded by the Dark Emperor's actions. Since when did the sky-devouring hounds have such an ability? The liquid in their bodies had a strong corrosive effect that could instantly corrode an intermediate-stage yin-yang realm martial artist. PST. Just as Ningyu was shocked, the Dark Emperor appeared beside Fong Ming and spat out a mouthful of black liquid. Fong Ming turned into a puff of gas and evaporated. Go! After a brief moment of shock, Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He immediately leaped up and flew toward the capital. Kid, wait for me. Seeing that Ningyu had left, the Dark Emperor did not dare to delay. He hurriedly turned into an afterimage and followed closely behind Ningyu. After all, the Dark Emperor was the emperor of the heaven-swallowing dog clan. When Ningyu left, his sharp senses discovered that there were several groups of experts rushing over from afar. Even the weakest among them was at the early stage of yin-yang realm. One of them had even reached the peak of yin-yang realm. The Dark Emperor could slightly contend against a martial artist in the middle stage of the yin-yang realm, but against a martial artist at the peak of the late stage of the yin-yang realm, the Dark Emperor could only die. Kacha! Not long after Ningyu and the Dark Emperor left, several void spaces were suddenly torn open, and several martial artists appeared. After these cultivators appeared, they did not greet each other. Instead, they unleashed their perception and carefully explored the area. Voila! A moment later, the surrounding martial artists dispersed, including the martial artist at the peak of the late stage of the yin-yang realm. However, there was an old man standing in midair with a slight frown. There was no fluctuation of primordial chi around the old man, and his slightly turbid eyes shone brightly. It seems like the aura of the heaven-swallowing dog. Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. Who knows, I might be able to gain something special from this trip to the capital. The Alchemy Union's alchemy competition is in 3 days. I have to go down and prepare. Buzz. As soon as the old man finished speaking, his body gradually became illusory. In the end, he merged with the void and disappeared. Swoosh. At the main entrance of the capital, a figure appeared. Upon closer inspection, the figure was none other than Ningyu. After tidying up his clothes, Ningyu strode towards the capital. The Dark Emperor did not follow behind Ningyu. Instead, he entered the storage ring. Since the third Prince Ouyang Hai was killed, the imperial family would definitely send experts to patrol the capital. If the Dark Emperor appeared in the capital again, it would be very dangerous. Ningyu did not want to take this unnecessary risk. After entering the capital, Ningyu did not immediately return to Danwu College. Instead, he found a random restaurant and sat down. Special times called for special treatment. Ningyu wanted to first understand the situation in the capital. Restaurants had always been crowded with people, so it was the easiest place to obtain gossip. Have you heard? The mysterious force in Shuiyu Pavilion has spread the word that Lu Wei has to return to Shuiyu Pavilion by tomorrow night. If not, her parents will be killed. As expected, just as Ningyu sat down, he heard a few burly men chatting at the next table. The one who spoke was an early primal core stage man. He sighed and said, Shuiyu Pavilion used to be the top force in the capital. Who would have thought that in such a short period of time, it would decline to such an extent that even its headquarters had been taken? That's right. Beside the burly man, a bearded man said regretfully, Lu Wei was originally the daughter of Shuiyu Pavilion. Now that Shuiyu Pavilion is in such a decline, and her parents are under the control of others, her days will not be easy. Even if it's not easy, she has to. I heard that Lu Wei is in Danwu College. If it were me, I would definitely not return to Shuiyu Pavilion. After all, where there's life, there's hope, another mid-primal core stage warrior said. Things are not that simple, the early primal core stage warrior said. The burly man at the early stage of the primal core realm said, This is a matter of life and death for the family. If Lu Xuan flinched, he will be reviled by everyone. Cursed is better than dying in battle, the bearded man said. Oh yes, who are the people in Shuiyu Pavilion? You know, Lu Wei is in Danwu College. Are they not afraid of offending Danwu College by doing this? The mid-primal core stage warrior suddenly asked. Haha, you think too much. The early primal core stage warrior laughed and said, I have received news that Lu Wei was only placed in Danwu College by Ningyu. She has nothing to do with Danwu College. I see, but I don't know if Ningyu will show up, the bearded man said. Now that things have come to this, Ningyu will not be able to help. The early primal core stage warrior looked around and said in a low voice, I heard that among the mysterious people in Shuiyu Pavilion, there are 2 late Yin-Yang stage warriors. Hiss! Hearing the words of the early primal core stage warrior, the other 2 warriors could not help but gasp. 2 late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. This force was truly terrifying. Crack! Just as these big men were discussing, a kacha sound rang out. Then, a cultivator rushed out of the restaurant. Who is he? The early primal core stage warrior asked. I'm not sure. He seems to be at the peak of the true martial realm, the bearded man said doubtfully. The peak of the true martial realm, could it be Ningyu? Chapter 509. To turn nothingness into reality. Whoosh. The few men in the restaurant had guessed correctly. The martial artist who had rushed out of the restaurant was indeed Ningyu. After leaving the restaurant, Ningyu rushed to Danwu College without stopping. Lu Wei's cultivation was only at the Xiantian realm. How could they let her return to Snow Domain Pavilion to face that mysterious force alone? There was only death awaiting them. Ningyu would never allow it. Hence, Ningyu's speed was very fast. He wanted to return to the Danwu Academy at the first moment to stop Lu and I. Whoosh. However, after flying for a while, Ningyu stopped. No, I can't go back now. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. Although he could stop Lu Wei from returning to Danwu College, this matter was likely to leave a scar in Lu Wei's heart. In the future, it would be very difficult for Lu Wei to make any further progress on the path of cultivation. After thinking for a while, Ningyu decided to go to the snow pavilion to find out what kind of people were inside. Ningyu didn't immediately go to the snow domain pavilion. After all, according to the big men, there were at least 2 Enyang late-stage martial artists in the snow domain pavilion. Tomorrow night was the appointed time between the mysterious force and Lu Wei, so Ningyu still had a lot of time. Ningyu decided to personally refine the essence transformation pill and then attempt to break through to the origin core realm. If he advanced to the origin core realm, Ningyu could even withstand a few moves from a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Without hesitation, Ningyu immediately turned into a medicinal herb store and bought 10 sets of medicinal herbs to refine the vitality transformation pill. After buying the herbs, Ningyu strolled around the capital a few times and bought a slightly higher quality alchemy furnace. After doing all this, Ningyu made sure that no one was following him before entering an inn. Ningyu set up a barrier around the room, then took out the 10 sets of Huayuan Dan's medicinal ingredients and placed them on the ground. I wonder if this cauldron can last until I finish concocting all 10 cauldrons of origin transformation pills. Ningyu casually threw the cauldron into the air, grabbed a medicinal ingredient with his left hand and threw it into the cauldron. The origin transformation pill was a peak grade 5 medicinal pill. There was a special characteristic when refining it, and that was that the temperature required was very high, very high. It was very difficult for an ordinary pill furnace to last until the pill was formed. The quality of the pill furnace Ningyu bought was not bad, but Ningyu was still a little worried. After all, he was refining a transcendent grade Yuan transformation pill, and the temperature required was even higher. Chi. As soon as the pill was thrown into the furnace, a blue flame appeared on the fingertip of Ningyu's right hand, constantly burning the bottom of the furnace. As the temperature at the bottom of the cauldron continued to rise, the first medicinal herb was quickly burned away, turning into a drop of crystal-clear liquid. The success of the first step caused Ningyu to heave a sigh of relief. A good start was half the battle. Following that, Ningyu grabbed another medicinal herb and threw it into the cauldron. This time, the time taken for the medicinal herb to be refined was clearly much faster. In just 10 seconds, the medicinal herb was refined into a drop of liquid. Voila! The first 2 medicinal herbs were just a test for Ningyu. Following that, he increased the speed at which he threw the medicinal herbs into the cauldron. Basically, every 10 seconds he would throw a medicinal herb into the cauldron. Chi. The sound of chi could be heard incessantly. Drop after drop of liquid was quickly refined and stuck to the sides of the cauldron. Go! After about 10 minutes, Ningyu let out a low shout. Then, the soul force in his body rushed into the cauldron and began the second round of refining the liquid. This time, Ningyu was very attentive. Because it concerned the final quality of the pill, Ningyu had no choice but to be extremely careful. After another 10 minutes, Ningyu withdrew his soul force from the cauldron. At the same time, the azure spiritual fire on Ningyu's fingertip burned even brighter as he worked hard to raise the temperature of the cauldron. Time passed minute by minute. Ningyu did not dare to have the slightest bit of carelessness. He did not even bother to wipe the beads of sweat that had formed on his forehead. Rise! After another 10 minutes, Ningyu's right hand slapped the cauldron fiercely. The lid of the cauldron was lifted in an instant. Then, a round white medicinal pill burst out from the cauldron. Ningyu's eyes and hands were sharp. In an instant, he caught the white medicinal pill in his hand. Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill? Looking at the white medicinal pill lying on his palm, Ningyu was slightly disappointed. Forget it. It's better than nothing. Let's hope that the next 9 batches can produce Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pills. Ningyu found a jade bottle and stored the Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill inside. He then threw it to the side and started to refine the second cauldron of Essence Transformation Pills. If Ningyu's actions were seen by outsiders, Even if it was a Tier 6 alchemist, they would have the impulse to beat him up. Although the Essence Transformation Pill was only a peak Tier 5 medicinal pill, ordinary Tier 6 alchemists did not dare to say that they could refine it with 100% success rate. It would be incredible if they could succeed once out of 10 batches. But Ningyu refined a supreme-grade energy transformation pill on his first batch and was still not satisfied. Swish. The first batch of essence transformation pills allowed Ningyu to have a very deep understanding of cauldrons. Hence, for the second batch of essence transformation pills, Ningyu obviously increased his speed. Originally, he needed 30 minutes to form the pill. This time, Ningyu used 20 minutes to refine the essence transformation pill. Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill. Without a doubt, for the second batch of essence transformation pills, Ningyu refined a Supreme Grade one. With the first batch of Supreme Grade Energy Transformation pills, there was a second batch, a third batch due to the refinement speed becoming increasingly faster. The last 8 batches of essence transformation pills, Ningyu used 2 hours to refine all of them. Furthermore, all of them were Supreme Grade Energy Transformation pills. Crack. When the last batch of essence transformation pills was formed, the pill furnace that Ningyu purchased also shattered with a loud bang. The shattering of the pill furnace did not arouse too much of Ningyu's attention, because the current him was adjusting his mental state, planning on consuming medicinal pills to assault the origin core realm. Ningyu spent 2 hours to adjust his mental state to the peak. Shortly after, he grabbed a transcendent grade essence transformation pill and directly threw it into his mouth. Buzz. When the medicinal pill entered his stomach, Ningyu only felt a surge of scorching heat wreaking havoc in his body, as if his entire body was being scorched by a blazing fire. The scorching heat merely lasted for a moment, then disappeared. Following the disappearance of the scorching heat, a surge of terrifying energy poured into Ningyu's sea of consciousness, fusing together with a virtual image of a golden core. Bang! The instant the two fused together, a muffled sound rang out, and then Ningyu's mouth slightly opened. Because he discovered that the virtual image of a golden core in his sea of consciousness had actually turned from illusion to reality, transforming into a real golden core. The virtual image of a golden core transforming into a real golden core was not frightening. What was frightening was that Ningyu was still at the peak of the true martial realm, and did not have the slightest intention of advancing to the origin core realm. Possessing a physical golden core, yet having a cultivation at the peak of the true martial realm, Ningyu might be the first person in history to do so. Don't tell me that I have to transform the remaining 6 virtual golden cores into physical golden cores in order to break through to the origin core realm? Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Chapter 510. Chapter 510 of the WORLD. The ultimate realm, an illusory golden core, was not the same as a physical golden core. The two could not be mentioned in the same breath. To Ningyu, as long as he could have 7 physical golden cores in the primal core realm, he could even compete with a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist. To be able to compete with a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist while still in the primal core realm, even Ningyu had not seen such a powerful martial artist in his previous life. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu had a serious look in his eyes. Then, Ningyu took out another Supreme Yuan transformation pill and popped it into his mouth. This time, Ningyu did not wait for the Yuan transformation pill to merge with the illusory golden core. Instead, he initiated the spiritual transformation method and began to refine the pill. Boom! After about 3 minutes, a dull sound was heard. Without a doubt, another illusory golden core in Ningyu's consciousness had turned into a physical golden core. 2 Supreme Yuan transformation pills had turned 2 illusory golden cores into physical golden cores, which gave Ningyu a huge boost. Next, Ningyu continued to swallow Yuan transformation pills, and the illusory golden cores in his consciousness also continued to turn into physical golden cores. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, the 7 illusory golden cores in Ning Yu's consciousness had all turned into physical golden cores. Boom. The moment the last illusory golden core turned into a physical golden core, an earth-shattering sound rang out in the room. After that, a monstrous imposing aura surged out from Ning Yu's body and charged out. Crack! Crack! This aura hit the enchantment around the room and directly shattered it. Swoosh! In the next moment the aura suddenly disappeared. Ning Yu's eyes opened abruptly, and there was a faint look of shock on his face. Mid-primal core realm. At this moment, Ning Yu had not only advanced from the peak of the true martial realm to the primal core realm, but he had also directly surpassed the early primal core realm and soared to the mid-primal core realm. Although the mid-primal core stage was not considered very high in the capital, it was enough for Ning Yu. Now that his cultivation had advanced to the mid-primal core stage, coupled with his 7 golden essences, Ning Yu could even kill a late yin-yang stage martial artist. Supreme 9 Purities Sword Technique. Ning Yu was not overwhelmed by the increase in his cultivation. On the contrary, he was very calm. The next moment, he drew out the red demon sword and decided to cultivate the 6th form of the 9 Purities Supreme Sword Technique, Solitaire. Solitaire had 4 realms: initial success, middle success, great success, and ultimate. Right now, Ning Yu had only cultivated Solitaire to the great accomplishment realm. If he could cultivate it to the ultimate realm, his trip to Snow Domain Pavilion would be much safer. Chi. After experiencing so many things, Ning Yu had a deeper understanding of Solitaire. He waved the red demon sword in his hand continuously, and waves of sword energy flew out, forming a sword wave array in the air. After advancing to the mid-primal core stage, the density of the Yuan Qi in Ning Yu's consciousness had become very frightening. Originally, he could only use Solitaire a few times, but now he could use it without restraint, and he did not have to worry about running out of Yuan Qi. No, if I continue to cultivate like this, it is almost impossible to cultivate Solitaire to the ultimate realm. After a while, Ning Yu stopped. The power of Solitaire at the great accomplishment realm was already very frightening. Logically speaking, the ultimate realm Solitaire. That's right. Suddenly, Ning Yu seemed to have thought of something. He raised his eyebrows and immediately waved the red demon sword in his hand. At the same time, a steady stream of Yuan Qi flowed through Ning Yu's wrist and into the red demon sword. Buzz buzz. As Yuan Qi continued to flow into the sword, the red demon sword made a slight vibrating sound. Go! With a low shout from Ning Yu, an extremely powerful wave of sword energy appeared in the air. Swoosh! As soon as the wave of sword energy appeared, a figure rushed out from the storage ring on Ning Yu's wrist and came into direct contact with the wave of sword energy. F***CK. The figure that rushed out from the storage ring was none other than the Dark Emperor. Ning Yu, what the hell are you doing? The Dark Emperor could not help but curse as he looked at the wave of sword energy that was approaching him and the violent Yuan Qi that it contained. However, the Dark Emperor used a secret technique to block the wave of sword energy as he growled. Bang! Although the Dark Emperor had already used all his strength to block it, he had still underestimated the power of the wave of sword energy. Without a doubt, when the wave of sword energy collided with the Dark Emperor's body, it sent him flying. Not bad. Ning Yu nodded in satisfaction as he stared at the Dark Emperor who had fallen flat on his face. Hearing Ning Yu's words, the Dark Emperor gritted his teeth and said, Ning Yu, if you don't give me an explanation today, I won't let you off. Just a moment ago, the Dark Emperor received a message from Ning Yu, saying that there was a great opportunity for him. Hearing that there was an opportunity, the Dark Emperor naturally flew out of the storage ring without hesitation. Who would have thought that Ning Yu would make a fool out of him? Dark Emperor, how's the power of my move? Ningyu did not care about the Dark Emperor's complaints and asked, "How's the power?" The Dark Emperor's expression was terrible as he berated, "Even I almost failed. How can it be weak?" However, what Ningyu said next left the Dark Emperor dumbfounded. He had the urge to slap Ningyu. "I'm relieved to hear that. To tell you the truth, this is only 30% of its power." When Ningyu said that, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and wanted to say something. However, when he saw Ningyu's serious look, he swallowed his words. The Dark Emperor had seen this move of Ningyu's before. Compared to before, the power of the sword wave today was clearly much stronger. Could it really be as Ningyu had said, that he had only used 30% of its power? Dark Emperor, make a trip to the Snow Domain Pavilion. Right at this moment, Ningyu put away the red demon's sword and dashed out of the room in a flash. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor pondered for a moment before following closely. The Dark Emperor was rather worried about this trip to the Snow Domain Pavilion. The Dark Emperor had heard the conversation between the burly men in the inn clearly and had a rough idea of the strength of the mysterious men in the Snow Domain Pavilion. Although Ningyu had advanced to mid-stage primordial core realm, and the power of his sword wave was strong, the most important thing was that the alchemy master was treating Li Tongtian with Sun Jiangwen. In other words, the two of them could not help much at this moment. He had to rely on himself and Ningyu for everything. That's right, there should be the red demon as well. Just like outside the capital, in order not to expose the Dark Emperor, Ningyu sent the Dark Emperor into his storage ring the moment they left the inn. The Snow Domain Pavilion was extremely dangerous, and keeping the Dark Emperor in his storage ring would serve as a trump card. Given the Dark Emperor's strength, he might be able to pose a threat to late-stage Yin-Yang realm cultivators if he caught them off guard. The Snow Domain Pavilion was not too far from the inn that Ningyu was staying at. Therefore, it did not take long for Ningyu to arrive at the Snow Domain Pavilion. Chapter 511. Hiding. Ningyu had chosen a good place to hide. He could easily watch the people entering and exiting the Snow Pavilion, and he could also hide himself well. After all, there were many Yin-Yang stage warriors in the Snow Pavilion, and if Ningyu were to barge in now, the situation would be very dangerous. Choosing to wait here might be the best choice. After about half an hour, an early primal core warrior walked out of the Snow Pavilion, looked left and right, and then flew off into the distance. Looking at the departing warrior, Ningyu frowned slightly, but did not move. After another half an hour, this time, two late primal core warriors walked out of the Snow Pavilion. Ningyu remained where he was, not moving. In the next 2 to 3 hours, there were no less than 10 warriors going in and out of the main entrance of the Snow Pavilion. However, these warriors did not attract much of Ningyu's attention, and he continued to wait tirelessly. Swish! Suddenly, a warrior in a black robe attracted Ningyu's attention. Early primal core stage? Ningyu sensed something unusual about the warrior in the black robe. Although the warrior in the black robe only seemed to be in the early primal core stage, based on Ningyu's years of experience, the warrior in the black robe should not be lower than the Yin-Yang stage. After a moment's thought, Ningyu moved his feet and carefully followed behind the warrior in the black robe. Ningyu followed very carefully, concealing his entire aura, afraid of being discovered by the warrior in the black robe. The warrior in the black robe did not seem to notice Ningyu. He first circled the capital, then left. "What are you doing outside the capital?" Ningyu hesitated for a second, then gritted his teeth and followed closely. After all, he had already followed for so long, if he did not follow, it would not be right. Furthermore, the warrior in the black robe was perhaps the only way to understand the internal situation of the Snow Pavilion, and Ningyu did not want to give up such a great opportunity. Swish! Outside the capital, the black-robed cultivator's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he had already traversed several dozen feet. Judging from his speed, his cultivation should be between early stage and mid-stage Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu frowned slightly as he looked at the black-robed cultivator in front of him. The black-robed martial artist's speed was indeed very fast. Even though Ningyu had advanced to the middle primal core stage, he could only follow behind him. Voila! However, just as Ningyu was pondering the black-robed cultivator's identity, the black-robed cultivator's body froze in midair. Seeing the black-robed cultivator stop, Ningyu hurriedly stopped and hid under the nearest tree. "You've followed me for so long, can you come out now?" The black-robed cultivator looked in the direction of Ningyu before saying, "A little primal core child is quite bold." Whoosh! Since he had already been discovered by the black-robed cultivator, Ningyu simply walked out from behind the giant tree. Seeing Ningyu come out, the black-robed cultivator sized up Ningyu. While the black-robed cultivator was sizing up Ningyu, Ningyu was also sizing up the black-robed cultivator. Late-stage yin-yang realm cultivation. Feeling the powerful aura emanating from the black-robed cultivator, Ningyu's eyes narrowed and revealed a serious expression. Late-stage yin-yang realm martial artists were very strong. With Ningyu's current strength, although he could contend against them, if the other party wanted to leave, Ningyu would not be able to do anything. Moreover, late-stage yin-yang realm martial artists were not to be trifled with. If they had a few more powerful trump cards, the person who would fail today would probably be Ningyu. To be able to cultivate to the mid-stage Yuan Dan stage at such a young age, you are indeed not simple. The black-robed cultivator stared at Ningyu as an evil smile formed on his lips. "Tell me who ordered you to follow me, and I can leave your corpse intact." In the black-robed cultivator's opinion, no matter how bold a mid-stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist was, he would not dare to follow him. Unless this mid-stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist was ordered by a strong practitioner to follow him. Upon hearing the black-robed cultivator's words, Ningyu's eyes turned before he calmly said, "If I tell you who the martial artist behind me is, can you spare my life?" Haha, in this world, no one has ever dared to bargain with me. The black-robed cultivator smiled slightly, then changed the topic as he coldly said, "Because those who dared to bargain with me have all died at my hands. If that's the case, I can be considered lucky to still be alive after bargaining with you." Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said, "To tell you the truth, the martial artist behind me is very powerful, it's Wan Jingtian." Late yin-yang stage cultivation. Wan Jingtian? As Ningyu finished speaking, the black-robed cultivator's eyes revealed a vicious look. At the same time, he could not help but clench his fist. Actually, when Ningyu had said those words, he had been paying attention to the black-robed cultivator's movements. When he saw the expression on the black-robed cultivator's face, as well as his tightly clenched fists, Ningyu knew that the black-robed cultivator definitely knew Wan Jingtian. It seemed like they did not have a good relationship. "What proof do you have that you are a martial artist sent by Wan Jingtian?" Taking a deep breath, the black-robed cultivator said in a low voice. The black-robed cultivator was not stupid. Naturally, he would not listen to Ningyu's one-sided words. Without absolute proof, he would definitely not believe Ningyu's words. This is the best proof. His eyes turning, Ningyu took out the white token he had obtained from Fang Ming and waved it in his hand. The entry token. Seeing the white token in Ningyu's hand, the black-robed cultivator's face completely darkened. "Wan Jingtian actually gave you something as important as the entry token. It seems like you are right." The black-robed cultivator said coldly, "The entry token is such an important thing. It is a complete waste to leave it with you. I will temporarily take care of it for you." Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the black-robed cultivator waved his hands in front of him, tore through the void, and entered. In the next instant, the black-robed cultivator appeared beside Ningyu. His right hand quickly shot out and grabbed the white token in Ningyu's hand. "I knew you would do this." The black-robed cultivator's sudden attack was completely within Ningyu's expectations. However, Ning Yu did not have the slightest bit of carelessness. After all, the black-robed cultivator was at the late yin-yang stage. A slight carelessness could lead to unpredictable danger. Solitaire. To Ning Yu, it was fine when he did not attack, but when he attacked, it was a killing move. The essence energy in his sea of consciousness surged wildly into the red demon sword. In the next moment, a shocking sword wave separated from the red demon's sword and slashed at the black-robed cultivator. Damn it! The black-robed cultivator had not expected Ning Yu to suddenly attack him. Furthermore, Ning Yu's move was so powerful that he had to retreat immediately. However, in order to obtain the white token, the black-robed cultivator was very close to Ning Yu. Trying to dodge Solitaire at such a close distance was harder than ascending to heaven. Chapter 512. Trap information. The moment the fist collided with the sword wave, the expression on the black-robed cultivator's face changed as an ominous feeling arose in his heart. Take another punch. Rotating palm. At this moment, Ning Yu pushed his palm forward. The palm, which was almost solid, slashed towards the black-robed cultivator's neck. After advancing to the intermediate Yuan Dan stage, Ning Yu's control over the rotating palm had improved. It could be said that the power of the rotating palm that Ning Yu used now was much stronger than when he used the reincarnation palm. Damn it! As he was using all his strength to block Solitaire, the black-robed cultivator could only choose to retreat and avoid the incoming palm. How could Ning Yu let go of such a good opportunity? Reincarnation palm. Following Ning Yu's growl, a palm print that wasn't any weaker than the rotating wheel palm appeared in the sky. Oh no! The black-robed cultivator's senses were strong, and he could naturally tell that the second palm was much stronger than the first. At this crucial moment, the black-robed cultivator gave up on the rotating palm and used all his strength to block the reincarnation palm. Without a doubt, the black-robed cultivator's chest was hit by the rotating palm and his body was on the verge of collapse. However, the black-robed cultivator's decision was obviously correct. Giving up on the rotating palm allowed him to block the reincarnation palm's overwhelming power. Otherwise, Ning Yu's reincarnation palm alone would have been enough to severely injure him. However, even so, the black-robed cultivator's breathing was slightly weak. It was obvious that he had suffered a significant injury. Good, very good. Ever since I advanced to the yin-yang stage, you are the first person in the Yuan Dan stage to be able to injure me. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the black-robed cultivator's face turned serious. Although he was careless, the fact that the warrior in front of him could injure him at the intermediate Yuan Dan stage meant that he had some skills. Oh, in that case, I can be considered to be relatively lucky. Ning Yu did not take the black-robed cultivator's praise to heart. Instead, he nodded his head and replied, You are indeed very lucky." The black-robed cultivator first smiled slightly, then said coldly, "Because on this day next year, it will be the anniversary of your death." Noisy. "If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you so long-winded?" Ning Yu said impatiently. Through the exchange just now, Ning Yu had basically determined the black-robed martial artist's strength. He was on par with him. Since the two sides were equally matched, the one who had the upper hand was definitely Ning Yu. Because the Dark Emperor was still in the storage ring, with the help of the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu was confident that he could slowly grind the black-robed cultivator to death. "You!" Hearing Ning Yu's words, the black-robed cultivator's face turned very gloomy. However, the black-robed cultivator did not lose his mind. He did not launch another attack just because of Ning Yu's arrogant words. What the black-robed martial artist was afraid of was the possibility of hidden martial artists in the surroundings. In his opinion, it was impossible for Ning Yu to follow him alone. "Tell me, why are you following me?" Taking a deep breath, the black-robed martial artist quietly released his perception, wanting to detect if there were any hidden martial artists in the surroundings. "I already said, It was Wan Jingtian who told me to follow you. Ningyu had already thought of a countermeasure in his heart, so he calmly said, "The Emperor suspects that you are colluding with the corpse sect." Impossible. Before Ningyu finished speaking, the black-robed martial artist scolded. Not long ago, the Emperor left the Snow Domain Pavilion and ordered us to send Lu Wei to the palace. How could he suspect us? Sure enough, the mysterious force of the Snow Domain Pavilion is related to the royal family. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, but he did not show it. These words were all told to me by Wan Jingtian. I was only responsible for passing on the message. That's right, Wan Jingtian should be in the palace right now. It is impossible for him to leave the palace in a short period of time, because, speaking up to here, Ningyu paused for a moment and then smiled. The Emperor wants to promote Wan Jingtian to the peak of the yin-yang stage as soon as possible so that he can replace you. A load of nonsense, a load of nonsense. The black-robed martial artist clenched his fists tightly, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. If what the mid-primal core martial artist said was true, then the situation was very serious for them. However, the black-robed martial artist was after all a late yin-yang stage martial artist, so naturally he would not easily believe what Ningyu said. What does it have to do with me whether you believe it or not? Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said nonchalantly, "To tell you the truth, once Wan Jingtian reaches the peak of the yin-yang stage, he will completely take over the Snow Domain Pavilion. Whether you stay or leave will be up to him." Hee, your words have exposed yourself. Hearing Ningyu's words, the black-robed martial artist laughed brightly. After laughing, the black-robed martial artist's tone became cold as he said, "Even if Wan Jingtian reaches the peak of the yin-yang stage, he cannot completely take over the Snow Domain Pavilion. Didn't Wan Jingtian tell you that there are 4 late yin-yang stage martial artists in the Snow Domain Pavilion?" The black-robed martial artist continued, "Besides the 4 late yin-yang stage martial artists, there is another peak yin-yang stage martial artist in the Snow Domain Pavilion. Would Wan Jingtian dare to force his way into the Snow Domain Pavilion?" As he spoke, the black-robed martial artist stared hard into Ningyu's eyes, hoping to find some clues. But unfortunately, Ningyu's expression was as tranquil as an ancient well, and it didn't change in the slightest. On the contrary, Ningyu said, "If all the late yin-yang stage martial artists in the Snow Domain Pavilion are of the same level as you, then Wan Jingtian could take over the Snow Domain Pavilion." Ah! The black-robed martial artist laughed maniacally and said, "The Snow Domain Pavilion has already set up 3 lines of defense. Wan Jingtian's token only allows him to pass through the first 2. What right does he have to take over the Snow Domain Pavilion? Forget it, there is no point in talking to you about this. Since you have chosen to follow me, you should be prepared to be killed." As he spoke, the black-robed martial artist rose from the ground and once again launched a powerful attack on Ningyu. Although he did not believe Ningyu's words, the black-robed martial artist secretly believed him. He had to quickly return to the Snow Domain Pavilion and think of a way to contact the peak yin-yang stage martial artist in the 3rd line of defense. He did not want to be stabbed in the back by Wan Jingtian. "Thank you for telling me so much about the Snow Domain Pavilion." Ningyu smiled faintly at the black-robed cultivator. Then, he stomped on the ground and immediately retreated. Trying to run? Not so easy. Seeing Ningyu's actions, the black-robed martial artist snorted coldly. His hands tore through the void and entered. In the next moment, the black-robed martial artist appeared beside Ningyu. "Eat my fist." After appearing, the black-robed martial artist's fist brought with it an extremely violent Yuan Qi gale and unscrupulously punched at Ningyu's chest. "Dark Emperor, if you don't show yourself now, when will you?" However, when the black-robed martial artist's fist was 20 centimeters away from Ningyu's chest, Ningyu shouted. Chapter 513. Destroying the Evidence, Grandfather? You are oh no. Hearing the Dark Emperor's words, the black-robed cultivator was stunned at first, and then his expression changed. Because he sensed a black figure flashing out from Ning Yu's spatial ring, and it was attacking him at an extremely shocking speed. Just like last time, at such a close distance, it was too late for the black-robed cultivator to dodge. He could only meet the black figure head-on. Bam! In the next moment, the black-robed cultivator gave up on attacking Ning Yu and turned his fist to collide with the black figure. Whoosh! However, the black-robed cultivator's expression changed the moment his fist came into contact with the black figure. It's actually a black dog. It was no wonder that the black-robed cultivator's expression changed. The moment the two collided, he realized that the black figure was not a human, but a black dog. Although it was a hurried battle, if he were to be defeated by a dog, the black-robed cultivator would probably find a block of tofu to kill himself. What kind of world is this? It's one thing for an intermediate primal core cultivator to be so arrogant, but even a dog is so arrogant and calls itself grandfather? I think it's more like a dead dog. The black-robed cultivator gritted his teeth in anger. After hastily receiving the Dark Emperor's blow, he did not stop and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with the Dark Emperor. After all, the Dark Emperor was only a peak primal core cultivator. Initially, he was able to hold his own against the black-robed cultivator, but as time passed, the Dark Emperor began to show signs of weakness. Bam! Suddenly, the black-robed cultivator seized the opportunity and punched the Dark Emperor in the chest, sending him flying several feet away. Ning Yu, are you King ready? The Dark Emperor shouted at Ning Yu before he fell. Whoosh! On the other side, Ning Yu's tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and he slowly exhaled a mouthful of foul air. Come out! Accompanied by a low shout from Ning Yu, the 7 golden cores in Ning Yu's consciousness all flew out. In midair, the 7 golden cores lined up in a row was exceptionally spectacular. Solitaire. When all the golden cores appeared, Ning Yu tossed the red demon sword in his hand into the center of the golden cores. The vital energy within the 7 golden elixirs surged out and flowed into the red demon sword. As the Yuan Qi in the Red Fiend increased, the Red Fiend did something terrifying. Without Ning Yu controlling it, it slashed out a shocking sword wave. Qi. The sword ripples were abnormally huge, as thick as 3 to 4 waist. The friction between them and the air produced a Qi sound. What's wrong with this world? Am I too crazy or am I too outdated? Black Robe's face was filled with disbelief as he looked at the sword ripples approaching him. It was reasonable for a dog to have super strong combat power. Now, even a flying sword could slash out a sword wave on its own, which made him feel a little incredulous. However, what surprised him even more were the 7 Jindan in midair. What the F***ck was this? How could a mid-primal core warrior have 7 golden cores? Despite his shock, the black-robed warrior's hands were not idle. He hurriedly summoned his flying sword and slashed out a sword wave of his own. Kaboom! The moment the 2 sword waves collided, the black-robed warrior's eyes revealed a look of shock. He realized that the sword wave he had slashed out had been easily dispersed like a piece of white paper. Following that, the sword wave from the red flying sword in midair rushed straight at him. The ultimate state of solitaire is indeed very powerful. Seeing the black-robed warrior's wretched state, even Ning Yu, who knew how powerful the ultimate state of solitaire was, could not help but look surprised. The black-robed warrior was a late-stage yin-yang warrior, but he had not been able to gain an advantage over solitaire. From this, it could be seen that even Ning Yu had underestimated the power of the ultimate state of solitaire. If I use the solitary sword wave unexpectedly, I can even fight against a yin-yang realm pinnacle martial artist. Ning Yu's mind began to race. He had originally planned to give up on the trip to Snow Pavilion. After all, there were peak yin-yang warriors in Snow Pavilion. However, when he saw how powerful solitaire was, He immediately decided to head to Snow Pavilion as soon as he dealt with the black-robed warrior. Ha ha ha, do you think you can defeat me, Black Whirlwind, with just this sword wave? At this moment, the black-robed warrior looked up to the sky and laughed. I, Black Whirlwind, have been able to survive in the capital for so many years. It is not for nothing. Before the black-robed warrior could finish his sentence, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. I, Black Whirlwind, can you not? The black-robed warrior looked down at the red flying sword in his heart. His mouth opened slightly as he pointed at Ningyu. Then, with a thud, his body fell forward. At the instant the black-robed warrior fell, the flying sword in his heart flashed out and returned to Ningyu's hand. The red flying sword was the Red Fiend's sword. To be more precise, it was the Red Fiend's sword that was controlled by the Red Fiend's sword. The Red Fiend's sword had recovered to the Peak King rank, so it was naturally able to pierce through space in a short period of time and appear before the black-robed warrior to kill him. Because the black-robed warrior's attention had been placed on Solitaire, he had been careless, and the Red Fiend's sword had found an opening. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to kill the black-robed warrior with just the Red Fiend's sword. Ha ha, weren't you showing off? Show off again. Ouch. The Dark Emperor roared with laughter when he saw the black-robed warrior being killed. However, he'd only spoken a few words when he aggravated the injuries on his body, and he grimaced in pain. Dark Emperor, hurry up and check if there's anything good on Black Whirlwind, then leave this place quickly. Ningyu released his perception and probed the surroundings for a while before saying in a deep voice, a late-stage Yin-Yang Realm warrior has been killed. It will definitely attract the attention of the mysterious force in Snow Domain Pavilion. This is the best time for us to sneak into Snow Domain Pavilion. Understood. Although the Dark Emperor was usually sloppy, he was not careless when it came to critical matters. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor immediately searched the black-robed warrior's body. After a while, the Dark Emperor came to Ningyu's side. There were 2 items in the Dark Emperor's hand. The first was a white token, and the second was a black pearl. Exactly the same. Ningyu frowned slightly when he received the white token and black pearl from the Dark Emperor. These 2 items were exactly the same as the ones he'd obtained from Fong Ming and Old Tan not long ago. There was almost no difference. The only difference was that there was a plum blossom mark on the upper left corner of the black-robed warrior's white token. Black Whirlwind said that Snow Domain Pavilion has a total of 3 lines of defense. Ningyu waved the white token in his hand and murmured, "It seems like Fong Ming's token can allow us to enter the first 2 lines of defense, and this token is the key to entering the 3rd line of defense. Dark Emperor, same rules." Chapter 514. Boundary. This was not the first time that the Dark Emperor had destroyed a corpse. This time, it was a familiar process, and the black-robed martial artist completely disappeared from the face of the earth. Let's go. Seeing the black-robed martial artist disappear into thin air, Ningyu relaxed a little. He rose from the ground and headed for the capital city. The Dark Emperor knew that Ningyu was going to the Snow Pavilion, so he immediately turned into a shadow and entered the storage ring. Whoosh! Not long after, Ningyu appeared at the main entrance of the Snow Pavilion. However, Ningyu had already changed his appearance. His entire body was wrapped in a black robe, and he looked somewhat similar to the black-robed martial artist from before. If one did not look closely, one would not be able to tell. Furthermore, Ningyu's entire body exuded a faint yin-yang aura, which made it even more difficult to distinguish him from the real one. "Please show me your token." Although he was well prepared, when Ningyu wanted to step into the Snow Pavilion, he was immediately stopped by a Peak Primal Core martial artist. Without any hesitation, Ningyu flicked his wrist and took out the black-robed martial artist's token. The Peak Primal Core martial artist looked at the white token in Ningyu's hand and immediately became respectful. "Lord Black Whirlwind." Ningyu kept the white token and stepped into the snow pavilion. After Ningyu left, the peak primal core martial artist frowned and muttered, "Didn't Lord Black Whirlwind just leave the snow pavilion? Why is he back so soon?" In fact, it was no wonder that the peak primal core martial artist was confused. Not long ago, the snow pavilion had sent out 3 advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artists. This was the first time they had sent out 3 advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artists since they had taken over the snow pavilion. Furthermore, when the 3 advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artists left, their expressions were very serious and even a little gloomy. "Forget it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. I'll just guard the door honestly." Shaking his head, the peak of the primal core stage warrior threw all his thoughts to the back of his mind and focused on guarding the door, preventing anyone from sneaking into the snow pavilion. Shio. However, just as the peak primal core practitioner extended his senses, his expression changed as he said in a low voice, "Please show me your token." In front of the pinnacle of the primal core stage, a middle-aged man scoffed and threw the white token in his hand over. Seeing the plum blossom mark on the lower left corner of the white token, the peak primal core practitioner's heart skipped a beat, and he respectfully returned the token to the middle-aged man. After receiving the white token, the middle-aged man walked into the snow domain pavilion without looking back. "I wonder why Lord Coldfaced has returned at this time." After the middle-aged man disappeared, the martial artist at the peak of the primal core stage wiped the sweat off his forehead. Obviously, the middle-aged man gave him a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, in the snow pavilion, although this was not the first time Ningyu had come to Snow Domain Pavilion, he was extra careful this time. He had heard from the warrior in the black robe that there were 3 lines of defense in Snow Domain Pavilion. However, after entering the Snow Domain Pavilion, everything was ordinary and unremarkable, as empty as the wilderness. Not even a strand of hair could be seen, much less 3 lines of defense. "This doesn't make sense. Didn't they say there were 3 lines of defense? Who?" Standing in the courtyard of the Snow Domain Pavilion, Ningyu frowned and muttered to himself. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed, and he quickly turned his head to look. Opposite him, a middle-aged man stopped in his tracks, his expression unusually cold. "Black Whirlwind, don't you even recognize me?" Not only was the middle-aged man's expression cold, even his tone was icy. Seeing that Ningyu's expression was dark and uncertain, the middle-aged man's lips curled into a smile. He said, "Should I call you Black Whirlwind, or should I call you Impersonator?" However, when the middle-aged man laughed, it was also very cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." Ningyu naturally wouldn't admit it, so he said in a deep voice, "Hee, it doesn't matter if you don't admit it." The middle-aged man continued to laugh. "To tell you the truth, just an hour ago we received news that Black Whirlwind has been killed." At this point, the middle-aged man changed the topic and said, "Because of this, we sent out 3 warriors of the advanced Yin-Yang stage to investigate, and I had to return to Snow Domain Pavilion to deal with something. Who would have thought that I would meet the impersonator of Black Whirlwind here? I will give you a chance now." The middle-aged man raised a finger and said, "Tell me who killed Black Whirlwind, and I will consider sparing your life." In the eyes of the middle-aged man, the warrior in front of him was only in the intermediate primal core stage, and naturally could not have killed Black Whirlwind. This was because the difference in strength between the two was too great, and they were not even on the same level. The middle-aged man guessed that the person who killed Black Whirlwind must be someone else. His cultivation level was at least in the peak of the Yin-Yang stage, or at least in the advanced Yin-Yang stage. Although Black Whirlwind's strength was the weakest among the 4 of them, it was not to be underestimated. An ordinary warrior of the advanced Yin-Yang stage would not have been able to kill Black Whirlwind. "Since you've already guessed it, I don't have anything to hide." Ningyu lifted his black robe and revealed his true appearance. Ningyu. Looking at the familiar face in front of him, The middle-aged man raised an eyebrow in surprise. With your intermediate primal core stage cultivation, you dare to barge into Snow Domain Pavilion? You know me? Ningyu did not expect the middle-aged man to know him, and was a little surprised. I don't know you, I have only seen your portrait. The middle-aged man's words made Ningyu want to vomit blood. After all this time, he did not know him. Since you are Ningyu, then I am sorry to say that even if you tell me who killed Black Whirlwind, you will not be spared today, the middle-aged man said in a low voice. If I said that I killed Black Whirlwind, would you believe me? Ningyu stared into the middle-aged man's eyes and said solemnly. Ha ha ha! The middle-aged man laughed maniacally and said coldly, Are you lying to a 3-year-old? Even if you were at the peak of the primal core stage, you would not be able to withstand one blow from Black Whirlwind, much less kill him. It is up to you whether you believe me or not. Ningyu shrugged and put his black robe back on, revealing only his eyes. If you want to kill me today, I am afraid it will not be so easy. I can create a big commotion and let the people outside know. Whoosh! As Ningyu spoke, the middle-aged man waved his hand, and suddenly, the array around the courtyard seemed to be activated. In an instant, the courtyard was enveloped in a white fog. Is that so? When the white fog rose, the middle-aged man's lips curled up into a smile. This barrier is specially prepared to deal with the invasion of foreign warriors. You are lucky to be the first warrior to open the barrier. You are very lucky. If that is the case, I will not be able to escape today. Ningyu took a deep breath, and his expression became unusually serious. The middle-aged man before him was much more powerful than Black Whirlwind. Chapter 5:15. Lingmian, Ningyu, are you going to commit suicide or should I take the initiative? The middle-aged man did not care about Ningyu's solemn expression and said directly, If you commit suicide, you can reduce a lot of pain. However, if I take the initiative, the situation may be a little more serious. I have a hobby. I don't kill people at once. Instead, I will slowly torture them to death. By the way, this day next year will be your death anniversary anyway. I will let you die knowing why. Suddenly, the middle-aged man seemed to have thought of something and said, Remember, my name is Lingmian. Lingmian. What kind of noodles is that? Can it be eaten? Ningyu frowned slightly and said indifferently, Unfortunately, whether it's cold or hot noodles, they are not my cup of tea. You're courting death. Lingmian's expression instantly darkened. His originally cold face became even colder at this moment. After a low shout, Lingmian rose from the ground and appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Then, Lingmian's right hand brought along a violent primordial energy wind and blasted it towards Ningyu's chest. In order to kill Ningyu in one move, Lingmian used 50% of his strength in this punch. In Lingmian's opinion, he had already given Ningyu enough face by using 50% of his strength in this punch. In his words, even if Ningyu died in battle, it would be enough for him to be proud. You want to kill me with a punch of 50% strength? It's not that easy. Ningyu's soul power had reached the peak of the 5th grade. Naturally, he could tell that Lingmian did not use his full strength and only used 50% of his strength. Lingmian's punch of 50% strength was similar to Black Whirlwind's punch of 80% strength. Ningyu could even kill Black Whirlwind at his peak, let alone a punch that was equivalent to 80% of his strength. Bang! Ningyu clenched his right fist, and the primordial energy in his sea of consciousness surged out and wrapped around his fist. In the next moment, Ningyu threw a punch and collided with Lingmian's fist. Ningyu, in your next life. F***CK. Before the two fists collided, Lingmian still wanted to say something sinister. However, he forcefully swallowed his words. In fact, he even cursed out loud. That was because Lingmian realized that his punch with 50% of his strength did not manage to repel Ningyu. On the contrary, Ningyu seemed to have the upper hand. What the hell is going on? Ling Mian could not believe what he was seeing. How could a warrior in the intermediate Yuan Dan realm be so powerful? Now, it's your turn to receive my palm strike. Just as Ling Mian was slightly stunned, Ning Yu's right fist turned into a palm and slapped Ling Mian's cheek. The power of Ning Yu's palm was extremely powerful. At the very least, it was much more powerful than Ling Mian's punch with 50% of his strength. Humph! That punch just now was only 50% of my strength. Do you really think that's all I'm capable of? Ling Mian was indeed a warrior at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm. He instantly recovered from his daze. After regaining his senses, Ling Mian channeled all his Yuan Qi into his palm and pushed it out. Ling Mian was at a disadvantage in the first move. He would not allow that situation to happen again. Therefore, Ling Mian used 100% of his strength in order to kill in one blow. Dark Emperor! Ning Yu bellowed just as his palm was about to touch Ling Mian's palm. Humph! Trying to divert my attention? How is that, not good? Ling Mian snorted. He thought that Ning Yu wanted to divert his attention and then wait for an opportunity to strike. Who would have thought that before Ling Mian finished speaking, his expression changed drastically. Swoosh! A black figure rushed out of the storage ring in Ning Yu's hand and appeared in front of Ling Mian. Black Dog? Although Ling Mian tried his best not to divert his attention, when he saw that the figure in front of him was a dog, he could not help but be momentarily stunned. Smack! However, during Ling Mian's momentary daze, the Dark Emperor seized the opportunity and swept his tail fiercely toward his cheek. Without a doubt, the Dark Emperor's tail whipped Ling Mian's cheek, leaving a bloody mark. Damn dog, you've completely angered me. Ling Mian covered his burning cheek and said fiercely to the Dark Emperor, I'm going to peel off your skin and whip your... Boom! Before Ling Mian could finish his sentence, he felt his body lighten and was sent flying. His body hit the barrier and Ling Mian fell flat on his face. Ling Mian struggled to stand up from the ground, feeling a little lucky. Fortunately, there was a barrier around him. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing if the others in Snow Domain Pavilion saw his miserable state? However, even though he was lucky, Ling Mian's face turned completely cold. First, he was schemed against by Ning Yu, and now he was schemed against by a dog. An aunt could tolerate it, but an uncle couldn't. Ning Yu, you're finished. No one in the world can save you, Ling Mian bellowed in a deep voice. Haha, no one in the world can save him. Can your grandfather? At the side, the Dark Emperor laughed. A peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist is only SOSO. Dark Emperor, don't underestimate anyone. Ning Yu's words rang in the Dark Emperor's ears. After 2 consecutive sneak attacks, the Dark Emperor gradually became arrogant. The first sneak attack on Black Whirlwind, and in the end, he cooperated with Ning Yu to kill him. The second sneak attack on Ling Mian, who was at the peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm, almost severely injured him. Originally, the Dark Emperor could only fight against a mid-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. These 2 successes had indeed made him a little arrogant. At this moment, Ning Yu felt that he had to knock him down a peg to prevent him from continuing to become arrogant. Hee, how can I underestimate others? The Dark Emperor chuckled and pointed at Ling Mian. This person has a cold face, and he looks like someone owes him crystals. I don't like it, so I'm just teasing him. Be careful, today is destined to be a fierce battle. Ning Yu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Although Ling Mian had suffered quite a bit of injuries, his strength did not decrease by much. The first 2 moves were just a test. What followed was the real battle. Crack! It's been a long time since I've eaten dog meat. Today, I want to eat dog meat and drink dog soup. Ling Mian twisted his neck and made a cracking sound. You want to eat your grandfather? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. The Dark Emperor said disdainfully. Ning Yu, I'll go test him first. As she spoke, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground and leaped up, wanting to fight Ling Mian head-on. Wait. However, before the Dark Emperor could move, Ningyu shook his head and smiled. You don't need to do anything to deal with Ling Mian. Hearing that, the Dark Emperor was slightly stunned. Then, as if he had thought of something, his eyes widened and his face was filled with excitement. Ningyu nodded at the Dark Emperor imperceptibly. He then flung the storage ring in his hand above his head and said calmly, "Come out. I'll leave Ling Mian to you guys." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Chapter 5:16. Control. Just now, Ningyu received a message from Sun Jiangwen, saying that they had healed Li Tongtian and that the Alchemy Hall Master's cultivation had recovered to its peak. Since that was the case, Ningyu naturally did not hesitate to summon them to fight against Ling Mian. Ningyu was only at the intermediate primal core stage and did not have much confidence in winning against Ling Mian. If the Alchemy Hall Master, who was at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm, Ningyu was confident that he could kill Ling Mian. Peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm, Ling Mian stared at the Alchemy Hall Master with a serious expression. Wang Haiba and Sun Jiangwen were naturally ignored by Ling Mian. After all, Wang Haiba was only at the intermediate Yin-Yang realm and his right hand had been severely injured, while Sun Jiangwen was only at the peak of the primal core stage. It was understandable that the two of them were ignored by Ling Mian. With their help, Ling Mian will probably become a hot face. The Dark Emperor laughed and said, I'm still a little excited at the thought of killing a peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm later. Bang! Ningyu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said angrily, What are you excited for? Hurry up and think of a way to break this boundary. We don't have much time left. Since Ling Mian knew that Black Whirlwind was killed by him, the other two advanced Yin-Yang realm warriors would know sooner or later. Ningyu had to hurry up and break through the 3 lines of defense of Snow Pavilion before they returned and rescue Lu Wei's parents. Once they returned, the consequences would be dire. After all, there were peak Yin-Yang realm warriors in the 3rd line of defense of Snow Pavilion. Kaboom! At this moment, on the other side, the Alchemy Hall Master and Ling Mian had already started fighting. Wang Haiba was helping from the side, waiting for an opportunity to strike. As for Sun Jiangwen, he came to Ningyu's side and asked curiously, Ningyu, why did you call me out? Sun Jiangwen was very puzzled. With his peak Yuan core stage cultivation, he probably could not even take one blow from Ling Mian. However, Sun Jiangwen knew that for Ningyu to call him out at this time, it was definitely not a joke. There must be some instructions. Upon hearing Sun Jiangwen's words, Ningyu said in a deep voice, How confident are you that you can control Ling Mian later? I mean, that kind of absolute control. He will do whatever you want him to do. Moreover, a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm will not be able to discover it. Impossible. The moment Ningyu finished speaking, Sun Jiangwen shook his head and said, To be honest, I have an 80% chance of controlling my cold face. However, it's very difficult to hide from the perception of a peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist. At the very least, I can't do it with my current soul power. It doesn't make sense. Your soul strength is at the peak of level 7. It should be easy for you to hide from the perception of a warrior at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu frowned and felt that it was unbelievable. In his previous life, when his soul strength was only at the middle of level 6, he could hide from the perception of a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. There was no reason that Sun Jiangwen's soul strength at the peak of level 7 could not do this. It's not that simple. Unless my control of my soul strength reaches the extreme, I can't guarantee that I can hide from a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. Sun Jiangwen shook his head and said, With the strength of my soul strength, I can at most hide from a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. What's the use of that? Ningyu's expression was a little cold. He waved his hand and gestured for Sun Jiangwen to wait here. In the next moment, Ningyu rose from the ground, waved the red demon sword in his hand quickly, and directly joined the battle. "Solitaire!" Ningyu shouted in a low voice. In an instant, a sword wave separated from the red demon's sword and slashed at Ling Mian. Oh no! Ling Mian was already at a disadvantage facing the alchemist temple master and Wang Haiba alone. Now that Ningyu joined the battle again, he immediately felt the pressure increase. Chi. At the critical moment, Ling Mian forced the alchemist temple master to retreat. As he waved his sleeve, a cold light swept out and collided with the sword wave. After one move, Ling Mian shouted, "Ningyu, I admit that I underestimated you, but if you want to kill me, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. This is the Snow Pavilion, our base camp. To tell you the truth, there is a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm in the depths of the Snow Pavilion. You still have a chance to escape. When the warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm comes out from the depths of the Snow Pavilion, you won't even have the chance to escape." Ling Mian rolled his eyes and said a few words in succession, in order to divert Ningyu's attention. Good chance. Sure enough, seeing that Ningyu was slightly stunned, Ling Mian instantly tore the void and appeared beside Ningyu in an instant. Immediately after, a faint purple light appeared on Ling Mian's fist, and before Ningyu could react, his fist had already landed on his chest. Bam! Ling Mian's speed was extremely fast, and he did not even hesitate to burn his primordial qi to increase his speed. Therefore, Ningyu could not dodge Ling Mian's powerful attack. A crisp sound was heard, and then Ningyu's body fell straight to the back like a kite with a broken string. A mouthful of red blood was spat out, and Ningyu's face turned a little pale. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the primordial qi in Ningyu's sea of consciousness poured out, forming a primordial qi shield on the surface of his skin. Otherwise, Ling Mian's move alone was enough to seriously injure him. Even so, Ningyu's strength had dropped by 30%. As Ling Mian had focused all his attention on Ningyu, it caused him to be attacked from the front and back. He was punched in the back by the Alchemist Hall Master, and fell straight to the ground. Immediately, the Alchemist Hall Master exerted his powerful perception and pressed on Ling Mian. There were gains and losses. Ling Mian had seriously injured Ningyu, that was a gain. He had been seriously injured by the Alchemist Hall Master, that was a loss. Relatively speaking, Ling Mian had lost this gamble. After all, Ningyu's strength had only dropped by 30%, but he was completely controlled by the Alchemist Hall Master. Sun Jiangwen, find a way to control him. I'll give you an hour. After an hour, I want to know how to open the 3 lines of defense of Snow Domain Pavilion. Ningyu said to Sun Jiangwen in a deep voice, and his tone was unquestionable. Sun Jiangwen's heart skipped a beat when he heard that, and he hurriedly nodded and said, I need the help of the Alchemist Hall Master and Wang Haiba. No problem, but you have to remember that you only have an hour. Ningyu shouted in a low voice, you can use the supreme-grade primordial crystals in the storage ring. I don't care about the process, I only care about the result. Understood. Sun Jiangwen knew that the task this time was very difficult, so he did not dare to be negligent. After responding, he immediately grabbed the seriously injured Ling Mian and swept him into the storage ring. Behind him, the Alchemist Hall Master and Wang Haiba also sped up and followed. Ningyu, I found a way to break the barrier. Chapter 5:17. The second formation, no problem. Ningyu agreed to the Dark Emperor's request without hesitation. The time he gave Sun Jiangwen was an hour. Now that the Dark Emperor needed an hour, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Did you take the wrong medicine? The Dark Emperor didn't expect Ningyu to agree so readily and was stunned for a moment. That's not right. He doesn't play by the rules at all. Initially, the Dark Emperor thought that Ningyu would definitely bargain with him. Who would have thought that Ningyu would agree so readily? This made him a little stunned. Ningyu didn't know what the Dark Emperor was thinking. At this moment, He sat cross-legged on the ground and circulated the spirit transformation art to replenish his energy. In order to block Ling Mian's powerful punch, Ningyu had consumed a lot of energy in his sea of consciousness. He could use this hour to recuperate and strive to recover to his peak state. After all, the existence in the depths of the Snow Domain Pavilion was at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu didn't even have the slightest confidence in winning against a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm at his peak, let alone when he was injured. Therefore, before meeting a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, Ningyu had to recover to his peak state. Crack! Ningyu took out a supreme-grade essence crystal from his storage ring and began to circulate the spirit transformation art to absorb it. Not long after, a cracking sound rang out. The supreme-grade essence crystal in Ningyu's hand shattered. The energy in Ningyu's sea of consciousness had also increased significantly. It's time to cultivate the spirit transformation art. Ningyu had only cultivated the spirit transformation art to the 4th level. When he was at the true martial realm, the absorption speed of the 4th level of the spirit transformation art wasn't slow. However, when he reached the middle stage of the Yuan Dan realm, Ningyu felt that the absorption speed of the spirit transformation art couldn't keep up with his consumption. It was urgent to raise the spirit transformation art to the 5th level. However, there was only half an hour left. Ningyu would definitely not waste his time on cultivating the spirit transformation technique. At the very least, it was not easy for Ningyu to recover to his peak state within an hour. While Ningyu was recovering, in the depths of Snow Domain Pavilion, in a secret room. Did you find out who killed Black Whirlwind? A gray-robed old man frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice. A middle-aged man beside the gray-clothed old man hurriedly said, Elder He, I've already sent Ling Mian and the others out to investigate. I believe it won't be long before news comes back. Yes, this matter concerns our reputation. We must investigate it thoroughly. The gray-clothed old man nodded and said. Then, the gray-robed elder continued, You don't have to worry about Black Whirlwind being killed. What you need to do is to ensure that Lu Wei is captured tomorrow and sent to the Imperial Palace in one piece. Elder He, I don't understand why His Majesty wants to see Lu Wei. She's just a Xiantian stage martial artist. The middle-aged man was puzzled when he heard the gray-robed elder's words. Moreover, Lu Wei's father is just an ordinary Yin-Yang stage martial artist. Her mother is even severely injured. If you hadn't sealed her meridians, her mother would have already met Hades. Ask what you should and don't ask what you shouldn't. The gray-robed elder's face turned cold as he scolded. Your task is to send Lu Wei to the Imperial Palace. Don't ask or think about anything else. Even I have to keep this matter to myself, let alone you. There's nothing else for you to do here. You can leave now. The middle-aged man did not dare to stay any longer and immediately left the secret room. Creak. After the middle-aged man left, the gray-robed elder, who was also Elder He, placed his hands on the wall of the secret room. With a creaking sound, a stone door slowly opened. After a moment of silence, Elder He stepped in. On the other side of the stone door was another secret room. This secret room was slightly smaller than the one outside, but there was a stone bed in the middle. A man with gray temples sat beside the stone bed. Pavilion Master Lu, what do you think? Is it time for you to hand over that thing? After entering the secret room, Elder He said to the man beside the bed, His Majesty has been extremely benevolent to you. Not only did he save Snow Domain Pavilion, but he also slowed down your wife's injury. In short, hand over that thing, and I'll give you a good fortune pill. I'll stand by what I said. Hand over the good fortune pill first, and then let me out to see Jean alone. Otherwise, I'll never hand that thing over to you. Pavilion Master Lu's tone was calm, and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or sad. Why do you have to do this? Elder He sighed softly. To tell you the truth, there's no need for you to persist any longer. His Majesty has already found out about Lu Wei's true identity. What? Pavilion Master Lu almost jumped up when he heard Elder He's words. The veins on his forehead were bulging, and it was extremely frightening. If you dare to touch a single hair on Jean Er's head, I can guarantee that thing will never appear in your hands. Pavilion Master Lu forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, He, as a citizen of the Xia Kingdom, how can you not hand over such a precious treasure to the royal family? Elder He smiled before he changed the topic and said coldly, Just that alone is enough for me to execute you on the spot. Don't waste your breath. Unless you hand over the good fortune pill and let me see Jean alone, don't even think about getting that treasure from me. Pavilion Master Lu turned to look at the woman on the bed and ignored Elder He. Elder He's face darkened when he was ignored by Pavilion Master Lu, but he didn't do anything out of line. Instead, he left the secret room. At the same time, in the courtyard of Snow Domain Pavilion, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After an hour of rest, he had finally recovered to his peak condition, and his strength had even improved. Crack! Not long after Ningyu opened his eyes, good news came from the Dark Emperor. The enchantment was slapped open by the Dark Emperor. Right at this moment, Sun Jiangwen's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind. I've completely controlled Ling Mian. He'll do whatever you want him to do now. Hearing Sun Jiangwen's words, Ningyu revealed a look of joy. However, when Ningyu heard the second half of Sun Jiangwen's words, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. I've used up all the remaining Supreme Grade Essence crystals in the storage ring. There were at least 5 million Supreme Grade Essence crystals left in the storage ring, and Sun Jiangwen actually used them all? Even if he smashed so many Supreme Grade Essence crystals one by one, it would still take a long time. Ningyu, I've used the remaining Supreme Grade Essence crystals to set up a small array formation. As long as the cultivation of martial artists is below Yin-Yang realm, I can use this array formation to make them submit to you with 100% certainty. Sun Jiangwen hurriedly said when he saw that Ningyu was a little angry. If that's the case, it's worth it. Originally, Ningyu wanted to slap Sun Jiangwen, but after hearing the latter sentence, he directly dispelled this idea. Let alone spending 5 million Supreme Grade Essence crystals, even if he spent 10 million Supreme Grade Essence crystals, Ningyu would unconditionally support Sun Jiangwen. Because with this array formation, he could keep the corpse insect martial artists he captured in the future in the storage ring. He would first use the first array formation to get rid of the smell on his body, and then use the second array formation to make him submit to him. Chapter 518. Poison Scorpion. Sun Jiangwen, did you find out what's going on with the 3 lines of defense? For Ningyu, no matter how good the formation was, it wouldn't be of much help. The most important thing now was to find the 3 lines of defense and Lu Wei's parents. Only by rescuing Lu Wei's parents from the Snow Domain could he ensure that Lu Wei wouldn't come to the Snow Domain Pavilion tomorrow night and walk right into the trap. Yes, all 3 lines of defense are in the forbidden area of the Snow Domain Pavilion. Sun Jiangwen explained, the first line of defense is at the entrance of the forbidden area. It's guarded by early Yin-Yang realm warriors. No one is allowed to enter without an access token. The second line of defense is in the depths of the forbidden area. It's guarded by 4 middle Yin-Yang realm warriors. Sun Jiangwen paused and then continued. This line of defense can't be entered just by having an access token. One must have a plum blossom mark on the token. Plum blossom mark? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion. He had a total of 2 white tokens on him. One was from Fong Ming, and the other was from Black Whirlwind. The white token from Fong Ming didn't have a plum blossom mark, but the one from Hei Whirlwind had a plum blossom mark on the top left corner. Hei Whirlwind, Ling Mian, Qing Wu, and the pale-faced scholar. Sun Jiangwen nodded and said, "All 4 of them are late Yin-Yang realm warriors. They're also the only 4 warriors with plum blossom marks on their tokens." "What's the strength of Qing Wu and the pale-faced scholar?" Ning Yu asked. "They're both above Ling Mian," Sun Jiangwen said in a deep voice. "The 2 of them aren't important because they're not in the capital right now. They've gone to investigate He Whirlwind's death. There are 2 other strong warriors in the forbidden area of the Snow Domain Pavilion that we must pay attention to. Poison Scorpion, Peak Yin-Yang Realm. He's stronger than the pale-faced scholar. He's the 2nd strongest warrior in the Snow Domain Pavilion. Old Crane, Peak Yin-Yang Realm. He's strong and currently controls this mysterious force." Hearing this, Ning Yu could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Originally, he thought that after dealing with He Whirlwind and Ling Mian, there would only be 1 Peak Yin-Yang Realm martial artist left in Snow Domain Pavilion. Who would have thought that there would be another powerful Peak Yin-Yang Realm martial artist? With all of Ning Yu's forces, he could think of a way to stall Old Crane and buy him time to unleash his ultimate solitaire. But if there was another Peak Yin-Yang Realm late-stage martial artist, the situation would become very dangerous. "Ning Yu, are you going or not?" The Dark Emperor's expression was slightly solemn, and his usually arrogant personality was slightly restrained. "Go. Since we're already here, there's absolutely no reason for us to shrink back." Ning Yu gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Sun Jiangwen, there's still an evil eye at the peak of Yin-Yang intermediate stage in the storage ring. Use the array formation to control him. I'll need him later." "That's naturally not a problem. By the way, I need 2 drops of your blood essence." Sun Jiangwen seemed to have thought of something as he spoke. "If you want to control Ling Mian and Evil Eye, you have to use 2 drops of blood essence." Swoosh! Swoosh! Ning Yu did not waste any time and directly forced 2 drops of blood essence into the storage ring. Buzz! As soon as the blood essence entered the storage ring, Ning Yu felt that he had established a subtle connection with Ling Mian. In other words, he now controlled Ling Mian's life and death. With just a thought, Ling Mian would turn into ashes. I didn't expect Sun Jiangwen to know so many things. He even has such a special array formation. Ning Yu was quite satisfied with Sun Jiangwen. In the past, Ning Yu had also controlled many martial artists, but he had always used his soul power to control them, which more or less affected the advancement of his soul power. But it was different now. There seemed to be a trace of connection that could not be grasped or grasped. If I have time, I should study this array formation properly. Ning Yu secretly made up his mind. If he could successfully leave Snow Domain Pavilion this time, he would personally enter the storage ring to study the array formation. If he could find the trick to the array formation, it would be very easy to control others in the future. He did not need to worry about his soul power being affected at all. Dark Emperor, just like before, enter the storage ring and be on standby. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu said to the Dark Emperor beside him. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor turned into an afterimage and entered the storage ring. Swoosh! As soon as the Dark Emperor entered the storage ring, Ling Mian flew out and landed beside Ning Yu. Bring me to the first line of defense. Without any hesitation, Ling Mian took the lead and walked towards the depths of Snow Domain Pavilion. Ning Yu took a deep breath and followed closely. Although Ning Yu had been to Snow Domain Pavilion once, he had only been to the outer courtyard of Snow Domain Pavilion, not to mention the forbidden area. Ling Mian seemed to be familiar with the place and led Ning Yu around Snow Domain Pavilion. Once you see it, you will never know it. From the outside, Snow Domain Pavilion looked inconspicuous, but the framework inside was extremely large, to a frightening extent. Actually, it was no wonder. Snow Domain Pavilion was the largest herb store in Dexia Kingdom after all. It had business all over Dexia Kingdom, and even had business with the neighboring Lanqing Kingdom. The capital's headquarters was the facade. If the facade was not big enough, it would be easy to be looked down upon. We're here. Not long after, Ling Mian stopped in front of a dilapidated house. Ningyu pointed at the house in front of him and asked doubtfully, "Is this the forbidden area of Snow Domain Pavilion?" "Yes, this is indeed the forbidden area of Snow Domain Pavilion." Ling Mian nodded and did not waste any more time. "All right, I choose to believe you." Ningyu shrugged helplessly and put on the black robe. His aura became exactly the same as Black Tornado. "Go ahead and lead the way." Although Ningyu chose to believe him, he was not a fool. He did not enter the house first and let Ling Mian lead the way. Creak. The house was indeed a little dilapidated. When Ling Mian opened the door, there was even a creaking sound. Ningyu muttered in his heart. Could Ling Mian be lying to him? "Please show me your token." However, just as Ningyu was feeling doubtful, a powerful voice came from inside the house. Hearing this voice, Ningyu was stunned at first, but then he revealed a joyful expression. Indeed, according to Sun Jiangwen, this was the entrance to the first line of defense. The moment the door opened, Ningyu found 4 martial artists inside, and their cultivation was at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm. Swish. Ling Mian flicked his wrist and threw his token over. Swish. Ningyu naturally would not drop the ball at this time. He took out Black Tornado's token and threw it into the room. "Lord Ling Mian, Lord Black Tornado." In the next moment, the token was thrown out of the room, and a respectful voice was heard. "Lord Scorpion sent a message just now. He said to see Lord Ling Mian as soon as you return." "Did he say what it is?" Ling Mian asked according to Ning Yu's instructions. Chapter 519. Chapter 519. Evil Cloud Pavilion, is it related to Black Whirlwind? Ning Yu's expression turned grave when he heard the voice coming from the room. Did Scorpion discover that Black Whirlwind had been killed? If that was the case, the situation would be very tricky. Scorpion was at the peak of the late-stage Yin-Yang realm, and he was much stronger than Ling Mian. Even if he did not know that Black Whirlwind had been killed, he would inevitably give himself away if he went to see him now. "Where is Scorpion now?" Ling Mian asked calmly. "Lord Scorpion is at the Evil Cloud Pavilion." "Got it." Ling Mian nodded and entered the dilapidated house. Ningyu naturally did not hesitate and followed closely behind Ling Mian. After entering the room, Ningyu discovered that 2 early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists were guarding the door, while the other 2 early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists were guarding a narrow passage. Without a doubt, the narrow passage in front of him had been listed as a forbidden area of Snow Domain Pavilion. To be precise, it was the entrance to the forbidden area. Ling Mian did not stop at the entrance of the passage. Instead, he took out 2 supreme-grade origin crystals and threw them into the holes on both sides of the passage. Then, he leaped into the passage. Since Ling Mian had entered the passage, there was no reason for Ningyu to stay. He also took out 2 supreme-grade origin crystals and threw them into the holes before following closely behind. Lord Black Whirlwind seems a little off today. After Ningyu and the rest entered the passage, a slightly plump martial artist among the 4 early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists frowned and said, "He used to be on bad terms with Lord Ling Mian. Did the sun rise from the west today?" "Lord Black Whirlwind used to be a chatterbox, but he didn't say a word today," another early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist said doubtfully. Hearing that, the remaining 3 early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists, including the slightly plump martial artist, felt a chill in their hearts and had a strange expression on their faces. Indeed, Black Whirlwind usually talked a lot when he passed through here. He was a real chatterbox. Today, he was with Ling Mian, but he didn't say a word at all. Where is the Evil Cloud Pavilion? In the narrow passageway, Ningyu naturally did not care about the surprise of the 4 early-stage Yin-Yang realm warriors. At that moment, he carefully followed behind Ling Mian and asked, should we pass through the second line of defense? Ningyu could only use one word to describe the forbidden area of Shuiyu Pavilion: blind. In this world, he was an idiot. He could only ask the cold side about everything. Fortunately, Ling Mian had been completely controlled. Otherwise, if anything happened, Ningyu would not even have tears to cry. The evil cloud pavilion is between the first and second line of defense. There's no need to pass through the second line of defense, Ling Yan answered mechanically. Tell me about the evil cloud pavilion, including the equipment around it, Ningyu asked again. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be prepared for 100 battles. Scorpion was a martial artist at the peak of the late-stage Yin-Yang realm. Before meeting him, Ningyu felt the need to understand the so-called Evil Cloud Pavilion. The Evil Cloud Pavilion is a special place. There's a large array around it that isolates it from the outside world. Ling Mian did not dare to be negligent. He explained, moreover, the Evil Cloud Pavilion is an independent office. There's a small transportation array inside that allows us to directly teleport to the depths of Shuiyu Pavilion's forbidden area without passing through the second and third lines of defense. In other words, it's the secret room where old he is. Ningyu raised his eyebrows. He was slightly surprised. It was tempting for Ningyu to directly teleport to the depths of Shuiyu Pavilion's forbidden area without passing through the second and third lines of defense. Ningyu had only learned from Sun Jiangwen that the first line of defense was guarded by 4 early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists, while the second line of defense was guarded by 4 mid-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. One could imagine that the guards of the third line of defense were not weak. Although Ningyu had the token with him, he did not dare to say that he could pass through the third line of defense for sure. The consequences would be dire if he was discovered. I just want to know if fighting in the Evil Cloud Pavilion will attract attention, Ningyu said in a deep voice. That won't happen. The array outside the Evil Cloud Pavilion is very special. Even a martial artist at the peak of Yin-Yang realm won't be able to break it unless they open it from the inside, Ling Mian said. This isn't even the depths of Shuiyu Pavilion's forbidden area. I can't believe there's such a powerful array here. Ningyu's expression was a little ugly. He felt that he had underestimated Shuiyu Pavilion and the mysterious force in the pavilion. In the entire forbidden area of Shuiyu Pavilion, only the Evil Cloud Pavilion is special. There's no such heaven-defying array in the depths of the forbidden area. Ling Mian continued, rumor has it that a mysterious person came to Shuiyu Pavilion more than a decade ago and stayed in the Evil Cloud Pavilion for a while. He might have personally set up the array outside the Evil Cloud Pavilion. Ningyu sucked in a cold breath. He was able to set up such a powerful array after staying here for a while. That mysterious person must be very powerful. After a moment of silence, Ningyu said, Let's go. Bring me to the Evil Cloud Pavilion. We'll meet the so-called Scorpion. He would meet the Scorpion sooner or later anyway. It was better to meet him now than later. If he could kill the Scorpion first, it would be a great help to save Lu Wei's parents. Swoosh, swoosh. At first, the passage was narrow. However, as Ningyu and the others went deeper, it gradually widened. Many forks appeared in the narrow passage. Ling Mian hesitated for a moment before choosing the leftmost fork and dashing in. Ningyu's figure flashed as he followed closely behind Ling Mian. The fork was narrow at first, but it gradually widened. In the end, it could even accommodate a few people at the same time. The primal chi is getting denser. After advancing for a while, Ningyu felt that the primal chi around him was getting denser. The density of the primal chi would increase with every distance they advanced. 1 time, 3 times, 5 times. When the primal chi density reached 5 times that of the outside world, Ling Mian stopped. When he saw that Ling Mian stopped, Ningyu stopped as well. However, at that moment, Ningyu looked at the white fog before him and murmured, This is the Evil Cloud Pavilion? That's right. There's a luxurious palace behind the white fog. Ling Mian nodded and said loudly, Lord Scorpion, Ling Mian is here to visit. Please open the restriction. Swoosh. The moment Ling Mian spoke, the initially dense white fog parted to the sides, leaving a passage in the middle. When he saw the passage, Ling Mian took a step forward and entered. As for Ningyu, he had a slightly grim expression as he walked forward quickly, maintaining a distance of 1 step from Ling Mian. This distance was very subtle. He could attack or retreat. If there was any danger, he could use Ling Mian as a shield. After all, Scorpion was a martial artist at the peak of late-stage Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu had to maintain 120% of his focus and be extremely careful. If he was careless, not only would he not be able to rescue Lu Wei's parents, but he would also be doomed. Swoosh. Chapter 520. Thunder explosion. Pearl. The white mist on both sides of the tunnel disappeared and was replaced by a bottomless abyss. In other words, Ling Mian and Ning Yu were in a bottomless abyss on both sides of the tunnel. It was extremely terrifying. Ning Yu took a deep breath and concentrated. If there was even the slightest sign of trouble, he would be the first to react. After all, this was the evil cloud pavilion, Scorpion's territory. It was always better to be careful. Swoosh. Ling Mian was not that worried. After all, he had been here more than once and was more familiar with this place. After walking for about 10 minutes, the bottomless abyss on both sides of the tunnel gradually disappeared, and it was enveloped by the white mist again. After walking for a while, Ningyu could not help but look at the white mist on his left. 1 second. Ningyu's gaze only lingered on the white mist for a second before he looked away. After that, Ningyu did not say anything and continued walking behind Ling Mian. Did he notice me? In the white mist, a middle-aged man raised his brows in slight surprise. Judging from Ningyu's reaction, it seemed like he had noticed him. Perhaps he was a blind cat that ran into a dead mouse. He looked over here a few more times on purpose. The middle-aged man frowned slightly and mumbled, Black Whirlwind's life plate is already broken. How dare he impersonate Black Whirlwind and enter the evil cloud pavilion at this time? Forget it. Since Ling Mian brought him here personally, I won't do anything for now. I'll listen to what Ling Mian has to say first. Buzz. The middle-aged man tore space apart and disappeared as soon as he finished speaking. On the other hand, Ningyu had already stopped with Ling Mian. Looking at the palace before him, Ningyu opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he did not say anything. On the contrary, Ling Mian said in a deep voice, Lord Scorpion, may I know why you called me here? Creak. The palace door opened slowly, and an extremely soft voice rang in Ling Mian's ears. Ling Mian, what's going on with Black Whirlwind? I need you to give me an explanation. Scorpion didn't know that Ningyu had heard everything he said to Cold Face. Moreover, Ningyu was still controlling Ling Mian behind the scenes. In other words, what Ling Mian said was what Ningyu wanted to say. Lord Scorpion, Black Whirlwind has died in battle. We have investigated the cause of his death. Lung Yen replied emotionlessly. Tell me about it, Scorpion asked again. Black Whirlwind was killed by Wan Jingtian. Ling Mian followed Ningyu's instructions and said, as soon as Black Whirlwind left the capital, he encountered Wan Jingtian. At that time, Wan Jingtian and Fang Ming joined forces to set up an array formation and killed Black Whirlwind. What? Hearing this, Scorpion clenched his fists tightly, the veins on his forehead bulging, and said angrily, Wan Jingtian, that bastard, is so daring. Is he tired of living? Lord Scorpion, this person beside me works under Wan Jingtian and participated in the encirclement of Black Whirlwind. Ling Mian pointed at Ningyu and said, this time, he came to testify against Wan Jingtian. Scorpion raised an eyebrow and pointed the spearhead at Ningyu. Tell me who you are and don't hide anything. Otherwise, I will take your life. Lord Scorpion, I am just a small fry working for Wan Jingtian. I am at the mid-primal core stage. Ningyu was not intimidated by Scorpion's vicious words. On the contrary, he took a step forward and said, there was more than one warrior who attacked Black Whirlwind. Other than Wan Jingtian, there was also Fang Ming of the mid-Yinyang stage and Elder Tan of the mid-Yinyang stage. Scorpion did not speak for a long time. Then, Scorpion said, come in and talk. I want to know the details. Ningyu didn't dare to be negligent. He moved his feet and entered the palace. Lingmian, wait outside for now. I will call you if there is anything. However, just as Lingmian was about to enter the palace, Scorpion's words rang out. Hearing Scorpion's words, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat and he even had the urge to attack. Could it be that Scorpion had discovered that Lingmian was under his control? However, Ningyu thought that Scorpion probably had not discovered it. Otherwise, Scorpion would have attacked the moment he saw him. Why would he wait until now? Lord Scorpion, it was Lord Lingmian who rescued me from Wan Jingtian. He also knows some information. Ningyu's eyes darted around as he thought of a countermeasure. In that case, Lingmian can come in as well. Scorpion did not think much and immediately agreed to Ningyu's request. To Scorpion, neither Lingmian nor the mid-primal core warrior in front of him were a match for him. Sometimes, as long as one was powerful, there were many things one did not need to worry about. After entering the palace, Scorpion did not question Ningyu, but instead extended his senses and probed Ningyu's body. Scorpion was at the peak of the late Yinyang stage, and was much stronger than Lingmian. Naturally, Ningyu did not dare to face Scorpion's probing directly. Instead, he carefully hid the golden core in his consciousness to prevent Scorpion from discovering anything. After a while, Scorpion withdrew his senses and said in a low voice, tell me how Wan Jingtian surrounded Black Whirlwind and how he was killed. If I find out that you are lying, you should be able to imagine the consequences. Lord Scorpion, I dare not. Feeling Scorpion withdraw his senses, Ningyu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Hearing Scorpion's question, Ningyu reached deep into his clothes and took out a black bead. The black bead was about the size of half a fist and contained a strong fluctuation of yuan qi. It was the black bead that he had obtained from Old Tan. Lightning explosion bead. The moment he saw the black bead, Scorpion's eyes flashed with fear, but he quickly concealed it. Lightning explosion bead? What is that? Ningyu looked a little puzzled. He brought the black bead closer to his eyes and carefully observed it. You don't want to live. However, just as Ningyu put the black bead in front of his eyes, Scorpion shouted, the lightning explosion bead is extremely powerful. Although it is only a low-grade lightning explosion bead, if it is detonated, its power is equivalent to the self-detonation of a martial artist at the early Yin-Yang stage. Ningyu took a deep breath and immediately held the lightning explosion bead with both hands. Lord Scorpion, I stole this bead when Old Tan was unprepared. I didn't know it was a lightning explosion bead. If you don't believe me, you can ask Lord Lingmian. I had a falling out with Old Tan because I stole this so-called lightning explosion bead. That's right. If I hadn't taken action, he would have died in Old Tan's hands. Lingmian took a step forward and stood beside Ningyu. After rescuing him, I found out from him that Black Whirlwind was killed by Old Tan and the others. Lingmian, you should know that lying to me is not good. Scorpion still didn't believe Ningyu's words. However, when he wanted to ask Lingmian again, his expression changed drastically and he quickly retreated. Swoosh! Chapter 521. Ridicule Kaboom! The thunder explosion pearl exploded in front of Poison Scorpion. The shockwave from the huge explosion rushed towards Poison Scorpion, causing him to be flustered. Even though Poison Scorpion's cultivation had reached the peak of the late-stage Yin-Yang realm, He could not help but feel powerless when facing the explosion of the Thunder Explosion Pearl at such a close distance. After all, the explosion of the Thunder Explosion Pearl was equivalent to the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm warrior. Swoosh! As Poison Scorpion was fully focused on resisting the shockwave of the Thunder Explosion Pearl, he did not notice that Ning Yu and Ling Mian had turned into shadows and entered the storage ring at the moment of the explosion. Damn it! Poison Scorpion shouted angrily as he resisted the shockwave of the Thunder Explosion Pearl. Ling Mian, you what? However, when Poison Scorpion looked around, there was no sign of Ling Mian. Not even a strand of hair was left. Even the mid-stage Primal Core Warrior had disappeared. Although the power of the Thunder Explosion Pearl is very strong, Ling Mian should be able to withstand it, right? Poison Scorpion's mouth was slightly agape, his face full of confusion. Although Ling Mian was much weaker than him, he was still a late-stage Yin-Yang realm warrior. There was no reason for him to not even have a strand of hair left in the explosion of the Thunder Explosion Pearl. Oh no! Suddenly, Poison Scorpion seemed to have thought of something, and his face darkened. Ling Mian and that mid-stage Primal Core Warrior must have betrayed us. Poison Scorpion's face darkened. He even wanted to personally capture Ling Mian and execute him on the spot. Boom! Poison Scorpion's momentary distraction caused him to be hit in the chest by the shockwave of the explosion, and his body flew straight out. A crisp sound rang out in the hall. Obviously, this sound came from Poison Scorpion's body hitting the wall. Poison Scorpion did not dare to think too much. The Yuan Qi in his body surged out and formed a protective shield around him. Chi-chi. The protective shield made a sizzling sound when it came into contact with the shockwave of the Thunder Explosion Pearl. Seeing this, Poison Scorpion secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, this lightning explosion bead was only a low-grade lightning explosion bead. Its explosive power was only equivalent to the self-detonation of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm warrior. If it was a mid-grade lightning explosion bead, he would have suffered a fatal blow. Even so, in order to withstand the aftermath of the Thunder Explosion Pearl's explosion, Poison Scorpion's strength was directly reduced by 30%, and he was only around 70% of his peak strength. I was careless. I was really careless this time. I almost failed miserably. When the aftermath of the explosion had completely dissipated, Scorpion's expression turned solemn. He secretly made up his mind that no matter what he encountered in the future, he would not be as careless as he was today. The opponent he had met today was a mid-Yuan Dan stage martial artist. If he were to meet a late Yin-Yang stage martial artist in the future, he could very well lose his life if he were to be so careless. Ling Yan, I know you guys are hiding around. I'll give you a chance. Come out and explain everything clearly. I can let bygones be bygones. Scorpion released his perception, probing the area back and forth. Scorpion knew very well that the Evil Cloud Pavilion was protected by an array formation. Given Ling Mian and a mid-stage Primal Core Cultivator, they would definitely not be able to escape. In other words, there was a high chance that Ling Mian and the mid-stage Primal Core Cultivator were still in the palace. Ningyu, why don't we go out and fight it out with him? Within the fractured space, a storage ring lay flat. In the storage ring, the Dark Emperor frowned. His strength has been reduced by at least 30%. If we attack together, we might be able to fight it out with him. Ningyu pondered for a moment before saying, You guys go out and stall Scorpion first. You must buy me 10 minutes. Understood. The Dark Emperor gritted his teeth, then his figure flashed and he left the storage ring. A dog? Seeing the Dark Emperor appear from the void, Scorpion frowned slightly, feeling a little incredulous. Naturally, Scorpion could tell that the Dark Emperor's cultivation was only at peak Primal Core stage. Logically speaking, only those who had reached the Yin-Yang stage could tear through the void. How did this black dog at peak Primal Core stage do it? You're a dog. Your whole family are dogs. The Dark Emperor was a little annoyed and said angrily, "Why aren't you kneeling and kowtowing after seeing your grandfather? How arrogant!" After following by Ning Yu's side for so long, the Dark Emperor had become much wiser. The Dark Emperor knew that with their strength, it would be difficult for them to block Scorpion for 10 minutes. If they could hold on for 10 minutes without bloodshed, it would naturally be excellent. Hee, a dog actually dares to say that I'm arrogant. Sure enough, hearing the Dark Emperor's words, the corner of Scorpion's mouth curled up. He smiled and said, "It's been a long time since I've eaten dog meat. Today I'll crash." However, before Scorpion could finish his sentence, he raised his eyebrows and looked at the place where the Dark Emperor had come out from. Looking at the figures that suddenly appeared, Scorpion's expression finally changed, and his eyes became slightly gloomy. Other than Ling Mian, there was actually a martial artist at the peak of the late-stage Yin-Yang realm, Alchemy Hall Master. As for Wang Haiba and the other mid-stage and early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists, they were directly filtered out by Scorpion. After all, for a martial artist like Wang Haiba, even though he was severely injured and only had 70% of his peak strength, killing them would be a piece of cake. Other than the peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm Alchemy Hall Master, another martial artist also attracted the attention of Scorpion. Demonic Eye. Have you betrayed us too? Scorpion's heart was filled with extreme shock. He had seen the Demonic Eye before, who had been following Ouyangba for many years, acting like his right-hand man, helping him with some of the inconveniences. What's going on? Why has the Demonic Eye betrayed us too? In Scorpion's heart, even if Ling Mian had betrayed them, he did not believe that the Demonic Eye would betray them too. After all, the Demonic Eye had been following Ouyangba for many years, thus he should be very familiar with the strength of Ouyangba and the royal family. After understanding the strength of the royal family, any cultivator who still wanted to rebel was either a fool or an idiot. The Demonic Eye stood in place without saying a word. Now that the Demonic Eye was under Ning Yu's direct control, Ning Yu had ordered the Demonic Eye to cooperate with the Hall Master and the others to hold Scorpion back. He did not allow the Demonic Eye to communicate with Scorpion. Seeing that the Demonic Eye had ignored him, Scorpion's chest heaved rapidly, on the verge of exploding in anger. "Scorpion, don't be angry." At this moment, the Dark Emperor's voice echoed in the area. "The Demonic Eye isn't betraying us by doing this. To be more precise, you've been suspected by the Emperor, and the Emperor wants to get rid of you." "That's impossible," Scorpion said coldly. "Old Crane has just met the Emperor. If the Emperor suspects us, how could he let Old Crane return to Snow Domain Pavilion so easily? Don't you dare try to scare us." "Sigh, Scorpion, I really feel bad for you." The Dark Emperor sighed and said seriously, "You've been working hard for the Emperor, but you've ended up being suspected by him. I'll give you a chance now. Submit to Ningyu, and I'll put in a good word for you in front of Ningyu, earning you a high position." At this moment the Dark Emperor looked like a charlatan. Chapter 522. Chapter 522. Burning Life. Ningyu, are you saying that the mid-primal core stage young man was Ningyu? Scorpion's eyes widened, and he had an expression of sudden realization as he said, "I was wondering why his strength was so formidable. So, he is the Danwu Academy's Sacred Institution's core disciple, Ningyu. You know Ningyu? That's great. If that's the case, your status might even rise." The Dark Emperor was naturally happy that Scorpion was so cooperative. His mission was to stall for time. As long as he could hold on for 10 minutes, the rest would be left to Ningyu. So, the Dark Emperor said, "How about it? Think about it. I'll give you 10 minutes to think about it." He's just a mid-primal core stage kid. Even if he was the dean of Danwu College, I would still kill him, much less a core disciple of Danwu College. As soon as the word kill was said, Scorpion rushed towards the Dark Emperor. Scorpion had long since disliked the Dark Emperor. A dog actually wanted to recruit him? Why didn't he look in the mirror? The ignorant were truly fearless. Scorpion decided to start with the dog, the Dark Emperor, and let him know what cruelty was. Damn, why isn't he playing by the rules? The Dark Emperor was no fool. The moment Scorpion made his move, his figure flashed and he hid behind the Master of Alchemy and Ling Mian. For someone as strong as Scorpion, even if he made a move, he would not be of much help. He had used a trick to stall for 3 minutes. That was his limit. The remaining 7 minutes would depend on the Master of Alchemy and the others. Boom. The Master of Alchemy stepped forward first. His fist carried a violent wave of yuan qi, and it collided with Scorpion's fist. Although my strength is only 70% of my peak, you should know that you can't stop me. Oh no. The moment the two fists collided, Scorpion did not forget to mock him. However, before he could finish his mocking words, his pupils constricted and he wanted to retract his fist. That was because he discovered that not only did the Alchemist Hall Master's fist contain a violent fluctuation of yuan qi, there was also a frightening fluctuation of soul force. Early stage 8th grade soul force. The strength of the martial artist's soul force had reached a terrifying early stage rank 8. Even in the entire Great Xia Kingdom, there were only 2 or 3 people with early stage 8th grade soul force. How did this late stage yin-yang realm martial artist do it? It's not good to be distracted now. Just as Poison Scorpion was slightly distracted, the Alchemist Hall Master let out a low roar and punched out once again. This time, it landed squarely on Poison Scorpion's chest. The huge recoil caused Scorpion to retreat several steps before stabilizing. Poochie! After stabilizing himself, Scorpion spat out a mouthful of blood, his face turning pale. Good, very good. You have completely angered me. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Scorpion waved his hands quickly. Buzz. As Scorpion waved his hands, the surrounding yuan qi seemed to be affected, and it actually surged toward Scorpion. Oh no, Scorpion is trying to activate the Evil Cloud Pavilion's internal array formation. Hurry up and stop him. Ling Mian knew a lot about the Evil Cloud Pavilion. When he saw Scorpion's movement, he quickly shouted, "The internal array formation of the Evil Cloud Pavilion has a strangulation function. Once it's activated, even a late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist will die. Don't let him succeed." Ling Mian looked very anxious. He even burned his yuan qi to increase his speed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Scorpion. Then, a green flame appeared on Ling Mian's fist as he punched toward Scorpion's head. Attack! At the side, the Alchemist Hall Master, Evil Eye, and the rest did not dare to delay. They followed Ling Mian and joined the battle. As for Wang Haibao, Ma Wei, and the rest, they wandered around the edge of the battlefield, waiting for an opportunity to attack. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. These words were true when used on Scorpion. In a one-on-one fight, his strength was the strongest in this area. Including the Alchemist Hall Master, no one could withstand more than 10 moves from him. However, the Alchemist Hall Master's side had the advantage in numbers. They were evenly matched with Scorpion. Damn it, I'm going to tear you guys apart. Since it was a draw, Scorpion naturally could not activate the internal array formation of the Evil Cloud Pavilion. He could only focus on fighting. Apart from the Alchemist Hall Master, Evil Eye, who was at the mid-stage yin-yang realm, gave him the most pressure. Evil Eye was quite capable since he could become Ouyangba's right-hand man. He was caught by Ningyu because he was careless. Ling Mian's cultivation base was also at the late-stage yin-yang realm. His strength should not be underestimated. Under the pressure of the 3 powerhouses, Scorpion could only fight with all his strength. He did not dare to activate the internal array formation of the Evil Cloud Pavilion. 5 minutes left. The Dark Emperor had already hidden in the corner of the main hall and was counting the time. He had delayed for 3 minutes at the beginning, and now another 2 minutes had passed. In other words, as long as the Alchemist Hall Master and the rest could hold on for another 5 minutes, Ningyu would attack. Judging from the situation on the battlefield, it seemed like it would not be too difficult for the Alchemist Hall Master and the rest to hold on for 5 minutes. Since they can hold on for 5 minutes, there's nothing for me to do here. Why don't I, As the Dark Emperor was about to return to his spatial ring, the situation changed. Scorpion's aura was gradually growing stronger. Peak Yin-Yang Realm Mastery Phase. In just 3 seconds, Scorpion's aura had recovered to its peak. His remaining 70% of his strength was instantly restored. Bang! In fact, before the Dark Emperor even had the time to be surprised, he saw the nearby poisoned Scorpion's body tremble, and then a clear sound erupted from within his body. Following the sound, Scorpion's aura skyrocketed, as if something inside his body had been unlocked. Peak Yin-Yang Realm. In just a brief moment, Scorpion's aura had reached the peak Yin-Yang Realm. Back off! The Alchemist Hall Master decisively took a few steps back when he sensed the powerful aura around Scorpion. Crack! Scorpion did not stop the Alchemist Hall Master and the rest. Instead, he twisted his neck and said in a sinister tone, "You've made me lose a life-saving technique. I can only vent my hatred by killing all of you. 5 minutes left. Hold on no matter what." Buzz buzz. At this time, the Dark Emperor did not choose to hide. Instead, he flew into the air and his body gradually grew larger. In the next moment, a powerful aura was emitted from the Dark Emperor's body. This aura broke through the limits of the Primal Core Realm and reached the early stage Yin-Yang Realm. In fact, the aura was still growing stronger. Middle stage Yin-Yang Realm. Late stage Yin-Yang Realm. In just a few seconds, the Dark Emperor's aura rose from the peak of the Primal Core Realm to the late stage Yin-Yang Realm. I didn't expect you to be a heaven-devouring hound. Furthermore, you're the Emperor of the Heaven-Devouring Hound clan, the Purple Gold Heaven-Devouring Hound. Chapter 523. Chapter 523 Introduction. Aura Lock. Noisy. A cold glint appeared in the Dark Emperor's eyes. After shouting in a low voice, he immediately rushed out and charged towards poisoned Scorpion. Scorpion was right. The reason why the Dark Emperor was able to raise his cultivation from the pinnacle of the Primal Core Realm to the advanced stage of the Yin-Yang Realm in such a short period of time was based on burning his life force. It could be said that the Dark Emperor's life force was decreasing rapidly with every passing second. Fortunately, the Dark Emperor was a purple gold sky-swallowing hound. Otherwise, with the strength of his body, he would only be able to last 30 seconds at most. Even so, the Dark Emperor could only last for 2 minutes. You guys hurry up and recuperate. I'll block Scorpion for 2 minutes. The Dark Emperor did not forget to turn around and shout as he charged towards Scorpion. You want to block me for 2 minutes? Scorpion snorted coldly when he heard the Dark Emperor's words. Dream on. Then, Scorpion stomped on the ground and the aura of the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang Realm charged towards the Dark Emperor. TSK. Scorpion, who had reached the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang Realm, had an unusually violent aura. The surrounding air even made sizzling sounds under the pressure of Scorpion's violent aura. Although the Dark Emperor had burned his life force to raise his cultivation to the advanced stage of the Yin-Yang Realm, he still felt a little powerless under the pressure of Scorpion's powerful aura. Facing the overwhelming aura, the purplish gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back flapped rapidly and several gusts of wind swept out. Under normal circumstances, even a mid-stage Yin-Yang Realm martial artist might not be able to withstand the strong winds produced by the Dark Emperor. However, such a strong wind exploded the moment it came into contact with Scorpion's aura and disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, the Dark Emperor was hit by the aura and his body was on the verge of collapsing in midair. In the next moment, the Dark Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood. His already weak body became even weaker. His face was extremely pale. Hee, a sky-swallowing hound that has yet to mature has no way of resisting me. After succeeding in his attack, Scorpion sinisterly laughed. His hands tore through space and instantly appeared beside the Dark Emperor. The purple-gold sky-devouring hound's entire body is a treasure. Its brain is a great tonic, its eyeballs can be made into magical treasures, and its wings can be made into flying robes. TSK, if that's the case, I didn't lose out today. Poison Scorpion smiled wickedly, then his right fist turned into a palm, chopping down from the sky. Scorpion's palm was powerful and heavy, containing extremely violent yuan qi fluctuations. With the Dark Emperor's weak state, if he was unlucky enough to be hit, he would probably be crippled even if he didn't die. Damn it, there's still 30 seconds left. Looking at the palm that was gradually expanding in her eyes, the Dark Emperor roared as the purplish gold wings on her back flapped furiously, wanting to leave this region. On the other side, the Alchemist Hall Master, Evil Eye, and the others were recovering at full speed. As long as they recovered to their peak state, there was a high chance that they could hold off Scorpion for 3 minutes. Therefore, the Dark Emperor was determined to block Scorpion for 2 minutes no matter what. Even if he had to suffer heavy injuries, he would not hesitate to do so. Fight! Burn faster! Seeing that he could not escape, the Dark Sovereign stopped. However, the aura of the Dark Emperor, who was originally at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm, actually rose once again. Yin-Yang late stage. Peak late Yin-Yang realm. Yin-Yang realm. Pinnacle. In just a second, the Dark Emperor's aura rose from the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm to the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang realm. Just like Scorpion. Mad dog, what a mad dog! Scorpion was no fool. He naturally knew that the reason why the Dark Emperor could raise his aura to the pinnacle of the Yin-Yang realm in such a short period of time was completely based on the excessive burning of life force. The Dark Emperor's originally pitch-black fur turned white in the blink of an eye. Right now, the Dark Emperor could no longer be called the Dark Emperor. He could change his name to White Emperor. This was because there was no longer a single spot of black fur on the Dark Emperor's body. It had all turned white. Scorpion, if you want to attack Ningyu, you have to step over my corpse. A hoarse voice came out of the Dark Emperor's mouth. In the next moment, the Dark Emperor tore through the void and appeared in front of Scorpion. Swish! The Dark Emperor's huge tail shot through the air and attacked Scorpion's head. Take the initiative. At this moment, the Dark Emperor decided to take the initiative. If he could heavily injure Scorpion in the last 30 seconds, not only would he be able to reduce the burden on the Alchemist Hall Master and the others, he would also be able to create an opportunity for Ningyu. Mad dog! There was only one word in Scorpion's mind: delay. As long as he delayed for a while, the black dog in front of him, no, the white dog's strength would drop to a freezing point. At that time, wanting to kill it would be as easy as blowing off dust. However, how could the Dark Emperor give Scorpion a chance? After appearing beside Scorpion, the Dark Emperor suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, staining the wings on his back. Swish! The wings were stained with blood, and the frequency of their fluttering increased, catching up to Scorpion in an instant. My cultivation is the same as yours. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Seeing that the Dark Emperor had caught up, Scorpion stopped running and floated in midair. Boom! Gathering all the origin energy in his body on his wrist, Scorpion threw out a punch and came into close contact with the Dark Emperor's tail. Gotcha! Just as the Scorpion's fist came into contact with the Dark Emperor's tail, a clear cracking sound, accompanied by a pig-like scream, resounded in the hall. Swish! Swish! They separated after a single touch. After the exchange, the Dark Emperor and Scorpion were both sent flying backward. Although Scorpion's fist had been shattered, the Dark Emperor was not in a good state. He fell heavily to the ground, and the aura of the peak yin-yang state dropped like a roller coaster. Advanced yin-yang state, late primal core state, early true martial state, early Khanate state. In an instant, the Dark Emperor's aura dropped from the peak yin-yang state to the early Khanate state, and it was even showing signs of dropping. Damn it, damn it! At this moment, Scorpion was like an enraged bull, his eyes revealing an extremely gloomy expression. He had failed miserably. Today, he had really failed miserably. He was at the peak yin-yang state, and he had used a secret technique to raise his cultivation to the peak yin-yang state. Yet, he was unable to gain the upper hand against a peak primal core state sky-swallowing dog. Not only did he not gain the upper hand, but his right hand had also suffered a fatal injury. If he did not receive treatment in time, he might lose his right hand. The purple-gold sky-swallowing hound wasn't the king of the sky-swallowing hound clan for nothing. The moment Scorpion's fist came into contact with the Dark Emperor's tail, Scorpion felt an extremely corrosive liquid enter his fist. If he hadn't forcefully suppressed it, his right hand would have been crippled. You must die today. No one in the world can save you. Scorpion's left hand cracked, and his originally gloomy expression turned even darker. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.